What is going on, you guys? It's your boy Thaddeus Maximus here, aka Thad Max, and we are back with episode 100 of the video game therapy series. It is another special episode. Again, generally, I'm not one that loves these round numbers or, I don't know. I generally don't like to stick to anything that seems at least has any suspicion of being mainstream, but I do think it is a good place to at least, I don't know, do something a little different for episode 100. So I'll do something similar to what I did for episode 50 here, except instead of 50 drops from the bucket, it will be 100. And I'm just kind of saying drops from the bucket to be a placeholder for just, I don't know, bits of wisdom or quotes or really just anything. I don't have many rules with it, but just kind of 50 snippets of things. As opposed to generally me kind of rambling on and on about things. And I've pulled these from, I pulled a lot of them from the first 50 obviously come from the first video, although I pruned a few out. So I'd say probably the first 45 or so, not in order, but 45 of the 50 came from the initial, from episode 50. But the other ones come from my other episodes or other ramblings or musings that I've done and just other things that I've thought about, I guess, since that, since time has passed. So I have categorized them a bit, and I'll be doing them kind of in order of these categories here. But again, I'd say you'll probably hear ones. The point isn't for this to be totally original, as much as I am kind of a whore for things being original. I will be repeating myself a lot. So I suppose if you've watched all of my other videos religiously and you've watched episode 50, I guess you've heard all this, but a lot of these stuff bears repeating. It all, wisdom is worth repeating a lot of the times. So anyway, I'll try to keep, I guess, doing the math on the time here. I'll try to keep everything like 30 seconds per, but I'm going to imagine I'm going to go long for this. I don't really care how long this video is. This doesn't really matter. But I'll try not to ramble on too much about each one, just because there are going to be 100. So anyway, the first 10 are all just life pillings. This my stupid word of saying just self-help. Basically, I spoke last time or one of the other times about how I think like self-help isn't really, it's not complicated. It's just like hard, which are different things. Like the ideas are very simple. It's just a matter of doing them. So I've taken the liberty here, of course, to basically boil down all these this $1 industry, all these books, all this wisdom, quote unquote, coming from the self-help industry into basically 10 things that pretty much summarize, I'd say pretty much most of it. Again, that we're speaking about generalized like life advice. So here's my 10 life pillings here that I've gleaned in my years of existence. The first is a healthy body is a healthy mind. It says you can't really have a healthy mind without a healthy body. I think, especially like if you're ridden with disease of some kind, you're obviously not going to be in a great mental state. But even that, this especially also means like diet, exercise, sleep, things like that. I think it's literally the lowest hanging fruit possible. It's kind of why I said I don't have a ton of sympathy for people, for sad fat people, because it's like there's a very obvious, you can't really be in a great mindset if you are, eating like shit, not sleeping, whatever. So healthy body is approximately fine. So this is, rest, diet, sleep, all of that. So taking care of your body is, again, just like an enormous part of it. So I'd say that's a whole arm of self-help, is just getting into the gym or some kind of routine for exercise of some kind, is a ton of it. Number 2, weaponize delusion to your advantage, and I guess use some purposeful blindness. I'll talk about this probably again, I think, as it'll come up later, but I think delusion, and I kind of use that word on purpose, and I don't mean in terms of like a psychological, like, I don't know, clinical delusion. I just mean more so in a, like kind of accepting falsehoods or living with falsehoods as kind of a blanket term for delusion. But I like to use the word delusion and not like, cognitive dissonance or anything like that, only because cognitive dissonance sounds like it should be medicated, right? It sounds like a a term that a doctor would use to describe something like that. I think delusion is more potent in sounding, and it's like I know I'm saying delusion on purpose. I know it sounds, like I'm calling somebody or the thing crazy. It kind of is crazy, but weaponizing delusion can be very advantageous in terms of helping your life. And the way this manifests itself a lot is like, I don't know, like confidence is an enormous thing about having any kind of, I guess, again, living the good life. And it's certain that isn't like you have to be justifiably confident. It's like some of it's just delusionally confident. It's not really like you have to, you're wrong, but you just should do it anyway, kind of that kind of confident. So the same way, it's like, oh, well, I have all these, there's all these excuses and stuff like that. You almost have to be delusional. Like, well, I don't give a fuck about all that. So there's probably more I have to say on this. I don't want to ramble too long, but weaponizing delusion is going to be something that I'll speak at volumes of later, but is another kind of a huge part of, I don't know, how to work life to your, I don't know, in the direction that you want. Number 3, baby steps to build routines, and then routines to build the you that you want. So it's just like, you're not going to fix everything in a weekend, right? If your life's a complete mess and you're a shithead and you're a moron, you're not going to fix all of it at once. So baby steps. So one small thing at a time. Start small, take small bites of the apple, build it up, and then just again, you're using the routines you're going to build are the ones that you're going to build you with. So whoever you want to be, or whoever you not want to be. Again, that sometimes is an easier question because who really knows who you are. But you got to have one small step at a time. So I think, again, people tend to think they can do too much. So baby steps is number 3. Number 4 is know thyself. Quote from Socrates. But document it and learn. So learn you and do you. So this again kind of comes back to baby steps, or really just especially weaponizing delusion. Like, so document what you're doing and what you know about yourself and what you're trying to do, I suppose. Kind of bring receipts for yourself, and then learn yourself and do yourself. So know thyself and do it is another, again, one of my life pillings. Number 5, control your environment to control your behavior. This is an enormous one for me. It's like I don't eat junk food. Again, I don't say that as I've never eaten junk food before, but I don't regularly eat junk food. And it's not because I have some supreme self. It's like I just don't buy it. If you just don't have it around you and you make it difficult to get it, you won't do it. It's like, if you don't ever if you're around drug addicts all the time and you're like, why am I doing drugs? Like, you're an idiot. Get it out of your peripherals. It's like, I don't know. Don't have I don't know, a naked girl on your wall as a poster and then wonder why you're this serial masturbator. It's like, it should make pretty obvious. Your environment is set up for you to fail. So control your environment if you want to control your behavior. So it's, that's the first thing I would look at is like, where are you and what are you doing? Who are you around day to day? What kind of physical, literal environment, not even the headspace. The mental environment's a whole other thing, but your physical environment. What does your room look like? What does your computer look like? Do you run Windows? That is probably most of your problem, is you're being served ads all day. So then, but your environment controls so much of your behavior. It's like, that should be of critical focus to you, especially if you're trying to make change in some way, or you're trying to stop doing something. How can you make your environment such as difficult or damn near impossible to do? So if you don't want to eat junk food, don't don't drive near the grocery store. And especially, if you go there, don't buy it. And you won't have to eat it. Don't have to it's the reason I probably could save money if I use a protein bar example. If I bought protein bars in bulk for $300, I'm just going to have them in my environment all the time. I'll be eating them all the time. So I don't want to be doing that. So I don't buy them. I don't care if it doesn't make more practical sense. It's like, do I want to save $5 buying protein balls in bulk? Or do I want to stop being a fat piece of shit? So it's ask yourself that question. But the environment is of critical importance to make any kind of change. Before I would look at any other especially before I'd look in your mind and try to change and try to weaponize delusion, I would change your environment first before you try to weaponize your own mind against itself in that sense. And again, I'm kind of using weaponize and delusion very loosely there, but those mean very specific things to me, and not just, I guess, the very Webster's dictionary version of what that's supposed to mean. But I'll move on because we have a lot to get through. Number 7, knowing does not equal doing, which doesn't mean you don't like not read, but don't mistake the two. Don't mistake knowing for doing. So it's like it's hilarious to see people who've like they have all their bookshelves are filled with these. You can every book, they know everything. They've studied all the greats, but then they do nothing. Like they're still a complete piece of shit, And it's like you've clearly learned nothing from. Like sure, you might know all of this, but you don't do anything. So you don't do any of this. You might have accrued all this wisdom, but you've done nothing. So don't mistake like not to say you shouldn't feel accomplished after reading a book or something like that, or even just knowing, but knowing is not the difficult part. Like I said, doing is the harder part. So don't mistake knowing something for doing. Like know how to eat healthy, but if you don't, then what's the point of even knowing really? So it's I don't know. Don't mistake knowing for doing. Which is not to say again you shouldn't read at all or kind of know anything. You obviously need to keep expanding your knowledge. Don't mistake I don't know the acquisition of knowledge through a book or something with like genuine, I guess, objective progress in some way. So again, know the difference between knowing and doing, and make sure that you don't mistake the two. Let's see, number 8, saying no is a skill. So practice and do it, and just stop being whipped around. Say no, be quick to refuse things, and be slow to accept. That's not a problem a lot with people trying to clean up their life. And I say this very generally again because I'm trying to categorize this advice to not be like specific for some career for God's sakes. I mean, really not for anybody. It should be independent of all of this. I'm trying to summarize any person in any frame of life and what they do. But a lot of people who have trouble cleaning their shit up, for lack of a better word, they just say yes to all this crap and they're just like tied down by all this garbage that they don't like. That there's I don't know. This is art of saying no. It's not like it's like anything else. It should be practiced and worked on. It's just to be like, no, I'm not going to do that, and I don't care. But no, I'm just going to say no. And this could be like I don't know things that some parts of you might want to do, but you can't do everything. I'll touch on that later with another part, but you can't. Saying no is a useful skill to develop. So you can't say yes to everything. So just I don't know, that's part of the skill that you need to work on, I suppose. Again, if you're trying to get your shit together. Number 9, give and take, but don't expect. So you're not in a bubble. Other people exist. Other people can help you with your stuff. So if you're trying to make some kind of lifestyle change, like you can having a gym buddy, like there's other people that you can help do your stuff. You don't have to be in a fucking monk mode bubble. Like a lot of people can help you with whatever kind of transformation you're trying to make. Don't feel like it's all you versus everything. Especially like with your environment, I think you have to have like no one lives. Like, I mean, I guess you could literally live in a monk in the woods or something like that, but most people don't. They have people that they're around that influence their behavior and is part of their physical environment. And again, you can use that to your detriment or you can use it to your advantage. So I think in this case, I'm advocating for, again, not only like being a resource for your friends or whoever is around you, but understanding that of their influence in your environment. And if they're going to help you make some change, you help them. But again, give, but not with the expectation of reciprocity. I mean, there's obviously nuance there. It's not like you have to be 1-to-1 for everything. But I don't keep tabs. I don't think keeping tabs is a useful thing to be doing, especially with friends. And I keep tabs with a fucking, a Fiverr contractor. But I mean, what the fuck you need that for? Anyway, just helping others can also be a great way to change yourself. It's not like don't make it all about you. Even though it might be all about you. Yeah, the change you're making is probably all about you. No one cares if you're at the gym or not. But you don't have to make things all about you. Other people exist, so don't pretend like you're in a vacuum. Number 10 is, and this is kind of antithetical to the number 9. No one cares, so stop acting like people do. It's like no one's like there's no FBI agent listening and tracking. I mean, maybe for some of you, but no one gives a shit. No one cares about what you're doing, your money, nope. Stop. So stop acting like anybody gives a fuck about anything. Whether you're literally a heroin addicted, like no one cares. You might be 5 seconds of conversation for somebody, and they will forget you exist forever. I get a number of people that someone says their name, like, oh my god, I have not thought of that person in 3 years. That person has never even gleaned my mind. But I'm sure to them, it's like every second. Like no one, they care about what they're doing. So don't act like you're under a microscope all the time. Everyone's looking at you and wondering what you're doing. And is he doing the right thing? What's he doing? No one cares. So stop. Don't act like this. Don't walk around with this like fake judgment big brother following you all the time. Just stop giving a fuck. Nobody cares. If you're gonna, especially you're gonna make it, if you're trying to change your life or be a different person, just don't be worried about what other people. Just do it. Do it for you anyway. No one fucking cares. Truly, no one cares. People, like I said, there's when I've gotten in the best shape of my life, physically, literally nobody noted. No one gave. There was no like. If I was worried about whether people were like, well, what does he look? No one gives a fuck. No one even noticed. I could have. I mean, they probably would have noticed if I gained 50 pounds, but I didn't. I looked the same, I guess, with my baggy shirt on. But no one gives a fuck, and I don't think you should. It shouldn't have been. The point wasn't to be like, oh, people are going to compliment him after he's gotten his boat or he's making all this. No one gives a fuck. No one cares if you made money. Just everyone's minding their own business. They have their own problems. Nobody cares what you're doing. So don't quit acting like they do or that you're important or something like that. I realize that you're important to you and you should be. And you're important to other people in your peripherals, but for the most part, people are worried about their own shit. So quit, again, beyond 5 seconds of a conversation, no one really cares what the fuck, Bob Jones is up to. Just leave him the fuck alone. Whether he's doing great or bad, it's either good or a bad thing. Oh, Bob's in great shape now. Cool. That's it. That's it. No one gives a fuck. It's not like people are going to be debating, you're not on a national stage. I mean, I guess I'm assuming you're not a celebrity of some kind. But even if you are, truly no one cares. You're still 5 seconds of a conversation, Anyway, those are my 10 life peelings. And pretty much that, again, is my attempt at more or less summarizing the entire self-help industry into pretty much 10 things. And I would argue that whatever other bullshit book there is, Atomic Habits, what have you, Clean Your Room, or whatever the fucking Jordan Peterson's dumbass is saying, all of it boils down to more or less one of these 10 things. And one mutation or the other. Obviously, it's not verbatim, but that's kind of my whole summation of, I guess, the entire self-help shtick. But yeah, those are my first 10. So let's see. I'm gonna scroll down on my thing here. So these next 32, and again, I'm using this. My powers of 2 have entered here. So 2 to the 5th. My next 32 it's kind of a joint category. It's either about 20 of them or so are just what I call money ancient quotes / stoicism / cynicism / just wisdom, just general wisdom from people that are probably dead, because I think there's more wisdom there than not. And then the other, I'd say about 12 or so are what I just call fight the power, independence, individuality, liberty, just some kind of, I don't know, things that resonate more deeply with me. So a lot of these are just kind of quotes or like pseudo quotes or quotes that I've bastardized or quotes that I've riffed off of in some sense. Some of them are just literal quotes. And I may not remember all, I'm not citing I may not remember everyone's, if you're interested who said it, just look it up. Again, I don't memorize all these quotes, who said what. It's just, I either remember it or I don't. So anyway, that's the next 32 are these. I need to make this a little bit bigger. So sorry. Number 11, do not seek to follow in the footsteps of the wise, seek what they sought. So again, this is like, kind of like you need to go your own way. It's not that you should ignore what other people are doing, but especially for people like role models that you have or people that you think are wise, or it's not doing exactly what they did, like being, I don't know, let's say you love Ben Franklin or something like that. So I want to work in a print shop. It's like, you don't have to do exactly what they did. I think the point of Morris is like, what are they seeking really? What were they after? And then, they obviously took whatever route they arrived at, but don't copy them, right? Don't, copying is not what the wise do. They do their own way. So I like this kind of, articulation of it. Number 12, comparison is the thief of joy. Don't compare yourself to anyone. But my amendment here is, especially don't ever compare yourself to the average person, because it's a fucking lose-lose. So again, this is comparison to the thief of joy is just a classic quote, but I amend here that you shouldn't compare yourself to the average person, because it is lose-lose. Because either you're better than the average, which, to be honest, is not, how impressive should that be, really? Well, you're better than average. It's like, half people are better than average. And also the average person is not a enviable, like I do not envy the average person's existence. I'm sorry. And I realize that in more ways than anything, I guess if you look at enough statistics in some sense, if you include everything, I don't know, bone mass to income. At some point, you all become the average. So again, it's kind of a pointless metric anyway. And suppose you do compare yourself to the average and you're worse, then you probably feel terrible because all these average ass people are better than you. So don't ever don't compare yourself to anybody, but especially for the love of God, do not be looking at average numbers and comparing yourself. And even if you are in the top 1%, it's still a pointless metric because again, I think the average person does not lead an enviable existence. And even so, it's not with enough statistics and enough points and enough data and enough p hacking. Everybody's a fucking average Joe. So it's a kind of a useless thing to be, to be obsessed with is how you are compared to average. Well, I have a bigger house than average. What are you talking about? Who gives a fuck? So don't compare yourself to the average person. Number 13, never ascribe to malice from that which is adequately described by incompetence. So again, I mean, my mind kind of goes to I don't know, big institutions that do things that all seem it all things can seem conspiratorial, right? And I think it's easy, especially once you become, I guess, a bit of a skeptic like me. In a general sense, I'm a skeptical person of things because most people aren't skeptical enough. But it's often not this giant conspiracy that's out to get you, and it's not like people are all working together in this. A lot of people are just dumb people. They're just clever idiots that have fumble fucked their way through God knows what to get. And it's like, don't act like it's all some grand master plan by the Bond villain. I think it's a movie problem. It's not. We don't live in a movie. These people are not. They're probably just idiots. They're doing idiot stuff, and then it ends up looking. Sure, it might look like a conspiracy. I'm not saying there's never times where things are like legitimate boardroom like conspiracies, but most of the time it's just people being retarded. So don't act like everything has to be some grand, I don't know, some grand plan by the CIA to get, your social security number. I don't even know what the people are, into these days, but either way, I like that quote. Number 14, I think this is Mark Twain, but I'm not sure. I could be wrong. I cannot remember the books I have read any more than the meals I have eaten, but even so, they have made me. Which again, it's not to say that, because people are like, I don't know. Again, you could say like you could I guess lower the significance of reading a book. And like, well, this is stupid. You don't remember all those books on there, and it's like it's not. The point isn't to be memorized. Like you're not just a walking like ball of facts. Like is that if that is how you view a human as like I don't know, a big JSON data set of facts, I am I feel bad for you if that's really what you think a person is. I think a lot of it's again, it's not to say it's all about the journey. Sometimes the destination does matter too, but it's not. Just don't be so reductive in the thinking. I don't think that it's all everything can be reduced to this like, well, if you don't remember all the books, what's the point of doing it? Or like, you don't remember what most of the stuff you did in school. It's kind of stupid. It's like I realize that there's a lot more to it than just what again JSON stats you can remember or can pull from something. But I really like that in the sense that I don't know, it does give credence to things, and it's not that you have to remember everything. I think there's what's remembered is as good as what's forgotten anyway. Um, so yeah, I kind of like that part of it. And it's also the importance of even I think literally even just eating the meals you've eaten. Like you obviously you shit them out literally. But they still create like the body that you have. So if you have a shit body, and sure, you like once you've eaten it, it's gone. You don't remember every M&M you've put in your fucking mouth, but it does. They still end up creating you in some sense. So those decisions, those micro decisions of what you're reading, what you're eating, what you're consuming, end up creating the person you look at anyway, even if each one themselves seems insignificant. Same with humanity. Again, the individual human, especially at the interconnected age today, is entirely replaceable. Again, probably half of you by fucking bash scripts, but especially in any kind of cosmic sense, there's no cosmic significance to individual humans. But in the aggregate, again, you could argue that humanity is still insignificant in the aggregate, but there's probably more significance, even some kind of relative kind of the collective humanity, but that's still comprised of the atomic individuals. But anyway, I'll move on. Number 15, to be great is to be misunderstood. This is kind of a fight the power-esque one, but I don't know. It's often like it. People seek recognition for the stuff that they've done, and they want. I don't know. You're just as likely to be known for like the dumbest you've ever done than you're most brilliant. And so part of it's about me is I I would stop giving a fuck about what it is that you are seen for, or I wouldn't be worried about what it is that, your legacy in some sense. I wouldn't worry too much about that, because it's, again, odds are you won't be remembered for what you think you'll be remembered. You'll be remembered for something other random, some random act of remembrance, instead of something whatever you thought was great. But it also says that, I guess the greats, however you want to think about that, are people that are often not, again, a lot more than whatever they're remembered as great for. So like I think, I don't know, Nietzsche was remembered for all of his philosophy talks, but the guy's life was very, very much different than, what his books might go to tell, or like George Washington, I'm sure. I think you get this a lot if you read autobiographies of people, because like your conception of, like, I don't know, Ben Franklin or something like that in history class is one thing, but then if you read his autobiography, it becomes kind of something completely different. You're like, you didn't really think of him like that, and I guess if he's an example of a great man, I don't think he was misunderstood as much, but there's a lot of artists, especially, that, again, their works and their lives are very disjointed, and it's hard to, I guess, conceptualizing all of that takes a lifetime in itself. So it's not like you're going to be understood for what you want to be, or even well understood at all as I don't know, as the potential for being a great man in some sense, or woman. The gender is not important here. Just let me get the TNC in my comments. Let's see. Number 16. I'd rather die on my feet than live on my knees. I don't know. This is just kind of your classic fight to power. Again, I would certainly not. It again. It's, to me, it's not. I don't necessarily want to root it in like existential nothingness, in the sense that it doesn't mean anything. So it should be at least significant to you, and you shouldn't, just succumb for, again, a life on your knees in some sense. But I don't know. It also feels like a humanity thing. Like, I think that's one sense in fighting for humanity. This is a general nod towards being a human and living like a human, and not like something subhuman, something on, I don't know. And again, this is all subjective. I suppose one man's feet is the other man's knees. So if you feel like you're living on your knees, that's enough for you. It's just not like somebody else. Again, I envy the person who's a satisfied person as a, I don't know, product manager at fucking Meta or something like that. But that, to me, that's living on my neck. It's not even, that's way below knees for me. But, again, to them, if it's like what satiates it truly gives meaning to their life, then, I mean, God rest their soul. I couldn't be me, but it is, that is a life on my knees for me. So I would never, or it would refuse to do that. So I don't know. That's, again, classic fight the power there. So number 17, the willing are led by fate, the reluctant are dragged. This is a nod towards, again, I am very much a proponent of, not even like some religious type s thing, but more so just like, I don't know. I often call the god just Fortuna, just because I think it's funny, but it's like Fortuna or fortune, or just, again, just bad luck or fate, as you may have it. And so it's, as much as we like to control, and humans love controlling and manipulating the world for our means, fate will have its way with you. When the world wants to, if society wants to kill you, it probably can, but when the world wants to take you, it will. And it's, again, and I'm not, you're not in the business of comparing fates. It's like, well, the world wanted me more than you, so that's why you got brain cancer and died. That's not part of it either. I just think it's not up to you. I think most things, it's nice to have things that are under your control, and there certainly is something I would argue that is. I'm not a free will denier. I'm not a determinist. But there's certainly a lot more that is also out of your control. So it's not like you can, you're not playing God here. So yeah. Number 18, I think this is a Nietzsche quote. It is hopelessness more than pain that crushes the soul. So, yeah, again, this is just kind of looking for teleology of life. There's your word of the day. I don't know, some kind of existential meaning or purpose of it is way easier. And I talked about, I think, in one of my episodes, like physical pain versus mental pain. Physical pain is not, I'm not saying it's like nothing, I'm not saying it's like starving to death, or like suffering from a bacteria illness is not as easy, but it's simple pain. It's not, it's not like it's this, there's something totally different about like breaking a leg versus like existential despair. I suppose depression is despair. there is something fundamentally different. And I think anyone that has dealt with the two of them will say that they would rather break 10 of their legs, than to so it's, again, pain itself is not, physical pain is often not really the hardest thing that life is. I don't think the hardest point of anyone's life was, again, when they broke their leg. It was when, I don't know, their wife left them, their kid died, and they're left wondering, what the fuck am I gonna, what am I doing right now? That's the hardest. It was not, oh, I stubbed my finger. Like, that was the physical pain is never like the painful part of somebody's life. So I think this is not a nod towards that part of it, but it is, it does kind of, I don't know, bring in physical pain versus kind of this more mental anguish or pain that is, again, is of no comparison when it comes to breaking a leg or something like that. Not to say it's easy to break a leg. I'm sure it still hurts, but the pain is local and simple for the most part. Again, it's not, it's also like treatable. I guess we kind of know that, if you have a broken leg, it's probably not going to hurt forever. You can fix it. It's not like it's been fixed before, but there's a lot more, I think, especially in Nietzsche's case. We came up with a quote. I mean, he suffered from, again, a lot of this, but of course it also resulted in one of his writings. So I guess thanks for your sacrifice, but I guess him more than anyone would know, would have lived by this and knows it. So same with him. This is another quote of his. I don't know why these are grouped together, but number 19, if you have a why to live, then you can bear almost any how. Again, this is the purpose being the I don't know, principal driver behind what people do. And sometimes I can't tell, like, if, not to say people are just stupid, but their purpose just doesn't seem to go that deep. It's like, why do you want to be this? Why are you so driven to be this product manager? It's like, well, I want money to be comfortable. It's like, okay, then what are you going to do? What is your plan here? Go buy a boat and then ride around the boat after you have, like, what is there something else that you're after with, or is it really just that simple? Is it that? I don't know if these, I guess I'm envious of the simpleton that, is just, all I want in life is a boat. I guess that's pretty, it'd be nice for it to be that easy for everybody. If it was just like, all I've ever wanted is to eat, I don't know, Swiss chocolate or something like that in Switzerland. It's like that. It's pretty simple. You can make that happen. It's not that hard, but I think there's I don't know, there's a lot more people that have more complicated or at least more unknown or more nuanced, I guess, reasons to live instead of doing something so material and, I'll say trivially achievable through like very simple means. Whereas a life purpose, like, I want to solve the mysteries of the universe. Like, what does that mean? What is solve? What are mysteries of the universe, and what do you constitute? It's like, also, you're just never going to do that. So it is kind of subscribing to a life of misery, but certainly not as simple as going to, eating Swiss chocolate on a boat or something like that. But I think he also used this quote. It's, in reference to like war. It's like, why are people going in war and doing this to themselves and just kind of throwing away their lives to be statistics, for lack of a better word. And it was because this why was so powerful to them. So any how was worth this why. The why was greater. And again, I'm not saying they're delusional for, like, dying for the why of their country. And this is agnostic. This is war agnostic. I'm not speaking of any particular war. Whereas I'm not a very nationalistic person. I haven't really ever been. But that was their why. And so their hows didn't really matter, whether it was broken legs or mental anguish or whatever. They had a reasonable why. And so that was, they could obviously bore a lot more of that than I would be able to, I suppose, as someone that doesn't have as strong of a why. So my why is the question why. But anyway, I'll move on. Number 20, we suffer more in imagination than in reality. This might be a Freud quote. I'm not sure who's, or not, probably one of those writers or something. Maybe it's T.S. Eliot. I don't know. But yeah, a lot of the, this is also related to the next one, I think. Number 21, which is a Freud quote, I believe. The task is and has always been psychological. So I'll group those two together. But yeah, I'm not saying everything's all in your head, like reality is in your head, but in some ways it kind of is. It's not to say that reality, like an objective reality, doesn't exist, although I've argued about that before, that it kind of doesn't. But especially a lot of the tasks here that people struggle with, again, what they're doing with their life, why they get up in the morning, why they do anything they do is often not it's often psychological. The task is psychological. They're, they have some weird fixation with being on a boat and eating chocolate. If that's really that is the coup de grace of everything. Is like, again, that psychology of that, there has to be something weird with that kind of delusion. I guess they're weaponizing delusion to the correct ends there, I suppose, if it's that simple to I guess have a purpose in life. But things being a lot more and a lot less, like, it's never about the airplane or about the boat or about the house or about the money or about, sometimes it can be about the food maybe or the shelter, I suppose, if you're homeless, but a lot of times it's never about anything. Things are much more psychological in nature than they were physical, because we're not, as much as I don't know, we're not really biological, like purely biological creatures anymore. Like, we live in this society, we're sociological, we have language, we have all this. The biology is mostly a solved problem. Like, we know how to keep ourselves alive, and we don't have immortality solved, but for the most part, we're not battling our, keeping ourselves alive for 10 years. We've fixed a lot of the childbirth issues that we had in the beginning, but even that was just a quirk of our development. It wasn't necessarily that we, needed to fix that to survive. We thrived in spite of it. But it means most of the, I guess, malaise that we deal with is all psychological in nature. Why do, the motivations and things that control our behavior are all psychological. Mostly psychological. I'll say not all, but mostly psychological. I suppose if you're born with a disease or something like that, the task is probably at that point physical, but even it's also psychological. And even that is psychological in the sense of, how do you deal with this physical pain? Like, there's, I'm not saying I would be this pure stoic if I broke my leg. I probably wouldn't be too happy most of the time, but it also is kind of a psychological thing, like dealing with physical pain. Like, there's people, and I've met people that have literally just, they don't react at all. They just do not give a fuck if their finger is broken completely and they're completely unresponsive. And that's a psychological, I'm not saying it's like, it's just a pain tolerance thing at that point, really. But that physical pain is also a psychological thing. So I would still argue that task is psychological in nature. But regardless, again, we suffer more in imagination than in reality. So it's psychological tasks that are the ones that we primarily battle. So let's see. We are now 2022. The world can stay irrational longer than you can stay sane. And this is often a tough one for me to swallow a lot of times, because I try to battle the irrationality of the world, and it's not even that I don't know, I'm much of a empiricist in the sense that everything needs to be rational, but even just like pseudo rationality in some sense of, like, it's like one thing to be I guess to a Christian zealot of some kind, like that is at least rational towards the ends of the Bible. It's not like they're doing stuff that's not in there. If you're an extremist, but it's just more of like the just almost complete RNG of some of these people's existence. And so again, I think it is worth noting that it's not really. I'll say it's a losing battle, and there's just, you should be fatalist and just give up. And but it is I guess at least worth understanding that it's probably not something you're not going to, I guess, trick the whole world into your ideology, whatever that may be. Even if it is perfect, even if you've literally figured out gay-based communism, it's not like you're going to be able to pitch it and everyone's going to, like, you're still going to be a bunch of detractors like me, people that you'll have to kill and put in jails and stuff like that. So I'll be in the mental institution, probably not the jail. But 23. This is not a Michael Jordan quote, but it's his number. 23. Life is a long race and nobody wins. That's pretty kind of related, I guess, to that. It's not like, I guess, not to say you don't do anything, but there's a quote I have for that later on. But it's, no one wins. Everyone just dies. That's it. Even if you're remembered for what, 50 years, 100 years, then what? It's like no one even. I don't remember people 3 generations back in my family. I wasn't even around for that long. I don't even know their names. It doesn't. All what they did. I say it's all for nothing, because it isn't. It obviously is meaningful to them, but it's not like. Don't act like there's some like cosmic importance to whatever the fuck you're doing, or whatever is your time and efforts put towards. It's not. No one wins. There's no winner at the end of it. It's all, I don't know. Everyone goes to heaven or all goes black or something. I'm not sure. That's not up to me. I guess ask somebody else. 24. What was their meat will be our poison. This was a quote from The Nature and Art of Craftsmanship or Workmanship. He would be mad if I said craftsmanship. Workmanship. David Pye, I think, Pye. I just read the book, but he was this is kind of a nod towards the gluttony. It's like what a prehistoric human or even just like a medieval human would have died for, a bar of chocolate. What was their meat was be our poison. So again, I don't think it's always worth comparing generations, like, and always looking back on our medieval ancestors or whatever, and either laughing or mocking them in some sense. But I do think it does kind of change form in the sense, whereas it, maybe chocolate used to be kind of some delicacy of some kind and was something that people would, now it's nothing. Now I would avoid it. It's not to say, well, you're taking it for granted what, people would have really loved to have. It's like, that's not the point of it. I don't think it's, I don't think it should be thought of in that way, in the sense of like, it, should be a glutton and be fat. But yeah, what was once their meat will be our poison. These next two I think are Bible quotes, but I don't know. I haven't read the Bible in a while, and again, I'm not a zealot in that sense. I think there's a lot of these great books have a lot of great wisdom. It's not about the specifics of it. I'm not promoting this, but I think it is. Should read the Bible anyway, because it's a good historical book to know, and there's a lot of wisdom in the Bible, regardless of its, whatever. 25 is salvation lies within. It's also from the movie Shawshank Redemption, which I saw. I think I ranted about that in one of these episodes. But salvation does lie within. Again, it's not. The task is all psychological. Again, it's not about the boat that you're going to be on and the chocolate you're going to eat. Again, maybe it's possible for you to delude yourself into thinking that the purpose of your life is to get this boat and this jet, or the girl, or the 5 girls, or the 10 girls, whatever dumb lifestyle that you're, memorializing into your brain is. That's not what it is. It's psychological in nature. It's not like you really. It's not about the house itself. The house it's representative of something else. And maybe you're foolish enough, or you're not. I guess you're not reflective enough to know that. And I guess I envy you. I wish it was about the house for me. I wish I could just buy a house and my whole life would be solved. But I have I know almost. I'm not gonna say I have a feeling. I know that. If I did make it about some house or some material thing, that would not be what I would not be ready to die instantly. I think that would not be the whole purpose of my life, is to get some material thing, some garment or something. Whether that garment be a house or a car or a girl or whatever, that's not the point. So salvation lies within. Also number 26, again, also from the Bible, I think, no man can serve 2 masters. And this isn't to be taken, I think, too literally in the sense we're talking about like a slave master of some kind. No, I think it's more about kind of what the person is deifying, right? It's like if you deify money, that is your deity. It's not like you can serve money and I guess humanity as your other deity. Again, I'm not. It's like or money is your one god, and there's like. The Christian God is your other God, and then Buddha is like, it's not, you can't truly serve only one master, not multiple. And unfortunately for a lot of people, I think their master is, they don't spend enough time even considering what their master might be. So there's certainly more virtuous ends that you can pursue, and more ones that I would turn my nose up at. But again, it's not up to me. But anyway, no man can serve 2 masters. It's just worth saying. Let's see. No, this is a Diogenes quote, number 27. Despising pleasure is the greatest of pleasures. And he might have been a bit of a masochist, I think, in retrospect, just looking back at history. But it is true that there is a great deal of pleasure to be derived from refuting it, and it's not like it's kind of a little bit of my zero tolerance policy. So it's not like I couldn't. I think I almost gain more from like refusing to even like buy the bar of chocolate than it would be to have like, a bar of chocolate laying around just in case, or like, it's not even worth like having that around. It's like, I'd rather just go none of it. Like I realize that in the small moderations, it's not all bad, if it's, but I think even just the psychological weight of like trying to divvy it out or like managing how much of it I get at once, or again, whatever other modes I'm using to disperse this like pleasure. it's almost easiest and is more pleasurable to just say, well, fuck it, zero, none. I don't want any of it ever, under no circumstance. Which I think is contrary to a lot of this advice. Where it's, oh no, ration it out and be, just kind of like get a little less. It's like, no, zero, not less, zero. And I think, and it's almost even more pleasurable to have zero versus like trying to like battle less and then like trying to fight more when you could just go zero, and it's easier and it's more pleasurable in some sense to have, and better for you again in some sense. I'm not talking about zero exercise. I'm talking about zero of a vice. This is in the context of vices. So yeah, despising pleasures, greatest pleasures. Number 28, saving time is never as important as cherishing it. I think this is kind of a middle finger to a lot of the time productivity min-maxers who are so like, how to best spend your time on vacation. It's like, what is the point? I think the point of your dumb vacation is not to like, what are you really trying to do here? It's not like, why are you trying to like calculate this happiness or like, make sure that it's all like, this is ridiculous. I think that's the point, is to almost just forget that time even exists for a little bit. It'll be I'm going to make a bucket list. I kind of hate bucket lists. But I think I might, the one I'll make is kind of like an anti-bucket list, but one of them would be like to go an entire week without looking at a clock. That way, that'd be like literally just time ignoring it. It's not that I'm not saying we don't agree on some passage of time as a society, or there isn't some importance. There is importance to time. There's importance to all of it. I'm not denying that per se, but I do think that, I don't know, again, cherishing time is never as important, or saving is never important as cherishing it, which is often forgotten in a world where everything is numerical and quantified and is all, reduced to some, set of atoms or numbers or money or whatever. So yeah. Number 29. This was, I referenced this a little bit earlier, or I wanted to at least. God don't play games with dice. I think the quote is Einstein. He said, "It's God don't play dice games." And I think this was in reference to him. He said his little pinky finger tells him that quantum mechanics is incomplete, which it doesn't remedy well with, I guess, classical physics, or not. It's not remedied. They're two separate things that I've talked about before in different episodes. I won't rehash that argument, but his quote was, "God don't play dice games," but I like the "God don't play games with dice," meaning that it's not. It's almost like, I don't know. It's almost like we should be perhaps a bit more fatalistic when it comes to our scientific understanding. I'm not saying that we should halt science. That's not what I'm speaking either. I'm speaking in terms of like, I don't know. We should have some reverence towards something far beyond our comprehension and understanding. Like I had my whole blog post. It was like 2,000 words, something ridiculous about like, is the cognizability of consciousness, or and that relation. And I've articulated my thoughts well there, so I won't rehash it again. But I love the quote, God don't play dice games," or my rendition of it is that God don't play games with dice. I think that's a little better. I think Einstein was a German American, so it I don't know, seems a little more clunky if you say it like that. I like God don't play games with dice. Number 30 is a Benjamin Franklin quote, or like a clause, I suppose. I don't think it's often quoted, but it's refuse idle pleasures. And I agree with that. I try to do this a lot. I try to have as few idle pleasures as possible. He considered reading an idle pleasure, which I don't know that I put that in that category. Maybe our lives now are too pleasurable I think reading is now kind of a more strenuous and difficult exercise, whereas it used to be like, it used to be, almost their poison, and now it's kind of our meat. When in the back, because no one wants to read anymore, no one even cares. Whereas I think he was trying to get his hands on any kind of book he could find, just because it wasn't as accessible. But idle pleasures in general, like, I don't know, Netflix watching and just kind of sitting there vegetating, and even sports. And I'm not. I obviously I played a lot of sports at high enough levels, but it's not. I don't. I said I'd never watch sports, and I can't ever watch a sports game. But in general, I don't want to routinely get in the habit of doing things that require nothing from me. That's the reason I hate audiobooks, because audiobooks is a completely different category than a book. A book is not an audiobook. It's like you didn't read the book if you just sat there, because you don't have to do anything. Like with the book, you have to turn the pages. You have to physically turn the pages. You have to interact with it. There's something totally different about reading the words with your eyes than it would be just like mindlessly kind of sitting there, because you can just fall asleep. Like anything you can fall asleep to is an idle pleasure. I guess with the exclusion of like video games, I think video games are an idle pleasure, but I guess you could technically sleep, sitting at your computer and there'd be no consequence. I guess you die in the game or whatever, but I would consider that still an idle pleasure. But in general, idle pleasures are generally viceful, because it's too easy to, I guess, not do them in short doses. So it's easier to have that zero tolerance policy. And I'm not saying it's never okay to watch a movie. I've watched a movie, but in general, I'm not going to make it a habit of me just sitting there watching movies all the time or watching Netflix. I'm just not going to have. I don't want to have any of it. I don't want to do it. I'm kind of refusing it. So I agree with that, and I have my own opinions. Number 31 is more, I don't know, something else. You might be the CEO in your building, but at the gas station, you are a nobody. Which I guess just is just to remain, I don't know, don't, not to think too highly of yourself, but too lowly of yourself. I think there's just to be self-assured and not have need, I guess, grandiosity in either sense, whether you're to think you're a low life if you're not the CEO, or to be the CEO and think that you're better than somebody. Because at the gas station, no one gives a fuck. The guy doesn't care. When he's choosing who to shoot in some random robbery, he's not going to interview you to see if you're, oh, I can't shoot him, he's the CEO. It's like, no, they're just going to shoot anybody. They don't care. To them, you're just another person. So like at the end of the day, you're just another body that could represent anything. You could be a statistic, as unfortunate that is. You could be, again, you don't have to be, no one cares if you're the CEO or if you're not. So I guess it's good to look at it in the other direction. If you're a bum like me, is that no one cares. And it's not like at the gas station, you're the same. You're just somebody in there going to buy something stupid, gas, I guess, or a granola bar or something like that. But anyway, see, I'm already at my time for my normal videos, and I'm only like a third of the way through. So this will probably be nearing 2 hours for this video. But I guess I'm spending probably a little bit more than 30 seconds on each of these things. But I do want to just make sure I flush them out. This is just a video of me just rambling 5 fucking quotes and then 100 quotes and then just moving on. I do want to give kind of what my context of the opinion. So that's why I don't care how long this video is. Plus, no one's fucking watching this anyway. Let's see, number 32. Madness is rare in individuals, but in groups, parties, and nations, it is the norm, or it is the rule. I spelled rule wrong. I think this is, I don't know, it's a little bit of a cynical take, and I am kind of a cynic, and capital C cynic, not lowercase c cynic, but it is, does reflect kind of my general distrust towards groups of any kind. I'm not saying that every group is bad and there isn't such thing as a good group, but generally as things get larger, they, again, that, I don't know, conceptual integrity goes down. Integrity as a whole also goes down. With 2 people are easier to compromise than 1 person. So it's just kind of an attack service thing almost, looking at it from like a red blue team perspective. But generally, again, as groups get larger, they get more insidious. Their bad things tend to multiply, as well as their good things. I'm not saying that doesn't have balance to it. There's not a yin yang in this, but there is. But certainly, it's you're a lot more likely to run into, again, this grandeur delusions with larger groups, as you have, as it said, madness is rarer in individuals than it would be in nations and businesses and stuff like that. So I'm wary of these, I'm wary of individuals too. I'm not saying I'm not wary of individual people. They are obviously also stupid people, mad people, I suppose you can call them that, including myself. But it's a lot more likely to have I don't know, more wary of nations and parties and groups and people like that. So that's kind of just my inner capital C cynic that believes that. Similarly, number 33, brilliant thinking is rare, but courage is an even shorter supply than genius. This is another related quote. I don't have this one on here, but it's fortune favors the bold. And I suppose it is saying that's not, it's generally, like, I guess, brilliant, where people tend to doubt their own genius. And I use the word genius there, not any kind of intellectual genius. Everyone has like their genius, but they tend to doubt their truest, deepest abilities, and they tend to lack that courage more than they lack any kind of real ability. I think a lot of learning and stuff like that is not even, you're just trying. It's effort's like 95% of it. It's not like there is some gene, like you roll out of bed and all of a sudden like speak Latin or something like that. It just requires effort, which is not really which again requires like courage, I suppose. So it's not like you have to be it's some like innate thing or there's some like it just requires effort. Just get your hands dirty and can do something. And you can, I don't know, I guess have something in shorter supply than brilliant thinking even. Because courage is I don't know. Number 34, I think this is my quote. I don't know. If you consume what others consume, you'll think what others think and then do what others do. To me, even if you take like this weird AI maximalist thing where we're just these like neural nets trained on, it's like that would even make my point even stronger. But I don't believe in that at all. But I do think it's like it's crazy to assume that you'll arrive at I don't know. You'll arrive at a new location, at an interesting point, at a curious discovery of some kind by doing exactly what everyone else is doing. So I think it is silly to not say you should never follow the crowd because there is some wisdom in crowds, but I think generally that's not your whole life cannot be lived in a sea of people all the time. You need to choose places and be tactful about it. Don't be dumb, but generally choose spots where you're gonna be okay. Fuck the crowd. I don't care what the crowd wisdom is. These people are idiots. I'm going this direction. I don't care. It's just if you're watching all the same Netflix shows and seeing all the same things and doing all that. And I know there's like kind of a social points that you get for I guess being in the know and having all that. I realize that there's value in that for some people, but it doesn't surprise me that that you can be tricked and have stupid opinions if you do the same stupid thing everyone else. All the other people are stupid. It's like I think if you're watching Fox News all the time and criticizing people, what idiots, you're also an idiot watching Fox News. So it's like, how are you any more? It's like I don't get it. Or CNN or whatever. I think if you're watching the same shit everyone else is doing or you're doing the same things, I don't know why you'd expect different results. It's literally science. I would say it's the definition of insanity: do the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. I would say that you are a function of what you eat, and in both a literal and a figurative sense. So if you just consume like literal brain rot shit TikToks all day, I don't know why you can assume that you'd have any kind of like you're going to be a dumbass. That's what you've been eating. Like that's what you've been looking at. That's what you've been consuming. Why would you expect to be this brilliant, like Hemingway writer or whatever if you're just watching brain rot TikToks? Like I think you're an idiot if you're expecting anything other than to be an idiot. So it's I don't know. It's again kind of not following the wisdom of crowds. Number 35. This is I think it's a quote from the Center for Humane Technology, but it is modern humans have Paleolithic emotions, medieval institutions, but godlike technology, which is true. Again, I've talked at length about our biological limitations. So I'm no stranger to the fact that we are just monkeys with these brains. I understand that, and I don't think we're just these like. I think there's a lot of complexity. I'm not saying monkeys are not complex, but we are still very like controlled by our physical impulses. There's, why is all the ads porn and food? It's like because we're monkeys. We have more abstractive abilities, but we're still have a lot of the biology things. And our institutions are not, again, are impressive. And I'm sure, I mean, dolphins haven't built governments. They have nothing else. So it's like, hey, I realize it's not to downplay the accomplishments we've made as a race, but it also is to kind of understand that we are wielding powers that are, who are we talking about here, right? We're talking about humans that again are more or less glorified monkeys with old ossified institutions, and then we're kind of wielding this technology that is, again, gives us power that rivals God's. And I don't think God's in a spiritual. I think it's more of like a society controlling God, so powers that control society in some sense. So I think it's the point of the quote is to just be wary of what the powers are working with here, and with great power comes great responsibility, as that Spider-Man dad said or whatever it is. I don't know. Let's see. Number 36. Why use your principles to defend people who obviously don't share them? Meaning it's I don't know. It's one thing to. This is again kind of in reference to not being succumbing to groupthink of some kind. Is having having principles and kind of dying on them. And otherwise, I disagree with this quote on some levels too, only because it is, some things are just a matter of principle. And I know that no one does them, and I do them anyway because, like, fuck it, it's just the way I am. But a lot of times, in terms of I don't know, something like a political arguments and stuff like that, it tends to make more sense. It's like you're not who you really. I mean, if you don't, who are you defending with this? Really, if you're trying to use it to defend Nazis and you're so anti-Nazi, then it's, I don't know. I don't know. I can't. Not really in the analytical mood for that that specific quote. So I'll just move on. But number 37. If you do not use tools, they use you. This is more true of modern technological tools, specifically a lot of computing tools. It's not saying you have to know every part of your car's engine or something like that, but generally the reaches of the car are pretty like your car's not spying on you while you're sleeping, right? In some sense, like what are the upper and lower bounds of what the technologies use every day, in their influence on you, right? And I think where I would be very, very wary of these tools we're using us is like the phone is kind of in your face all fucking day. The computer is in your face all day. So by refusing to understand it, you're kind of, or refusing to even use it, much less even understand it, you're kind of just letting it go to his maximum capacity, which is the full brunt of influence. And you can beg lawmakers to make laws that, to do your bidding, but ultimately at the end of the day, you're the one that uses the phone all the time, that uses a computer. So you should be wary of what the tools that you are using do, what they can do. Like I know that my car can't, I don't know, convince me to do a mass shooting or something like that. Whereas the phone can, kind of, I guess, if you're terminally online and degenerate. So it's just being wary of what the maximum amounts of influence that the tools can have. So if you don't, or at least aware of them, then you can't, then you shouldn't be surprised if they are influence you in your ways. And I think the phones and computers now are especially, especially potent when it comes to the ability to control and influence people in ways that are frankly disgusting. But that's I've ranted on that plenty in the past. Let's see. Number 38, technology isn't a force for good or evil. It is simply a force multiplier. This is kind of interesting framing of technology. I might talk about this more in a different episode just because I think there's a lot more I want to say on this. But in general, I think it's silly to look at and reduce things. It's like, well, so cell phone technologies are bad. It's like, nah, that's a very stupid blanket statement to make. It's like, is HTTPS, or HTTP as a technology good or bad? It's like, that seems like a silly question. I think compared to phone lines, you couldn't say it's like worse or better. I would say it's a magnitude more influential, and it could be influential in a good way. We could have used it to serve everybody, the classics, so they can read and read the Bible or whatever. But they obviously don't. It's simply multiplying that force. So I think looking at it in that way is an interesting way to frame, and I think a mostly correct way to look at technologies is they're not necessarily like inherent. They don't have inherent goodness or badness. They're just multipliers of force in some sense. So I don't know. I kind of like that abstraction of it. Number 39, consensus does not mean truth. I think this is especially more true. It needs to be more harped on now than I think it, because it was a quote, I guess, from way back when like people thought the earth was flat and stuff like that. And then now it's like, well, we're so silly. People thought the earth was flat. These guys are idiots. And they all died from typhus or whatever. So I think it's easy to look back on when like this quote was said and be like, well, surely we know like truth and stuff now. I think it's even more important to be skeptical now of consensus. Not to say that you need to be a conspiracy theorist, but realize that we're the same fallible idiots that believe the earth was flat. We're fundamentally not any different than the people that thought the earth was flat. So I think that we should embrace a little bit more humility with all of our musings and our beliefs, and not be so quick to accept consensus only because it seems like we're smarter and we have, we can fly now. It's like, and I understand that we've done a lot of impressive things, but it's no comparison for the power of our hubris, I suppose, to put it that way. Related, number 40, all models are wrong, but some are useful. This is, again, much more prevalent now than it really has ever been. I think it's a relatively modern quote, mostly used in statistics classrooms. But again, like I said before, I can get like tangible, quantifiable data that is like from Harvard or something to back up pretty much any fucking claim that I want. Again, if I can massage and fuck with the data enough, or I can just outright lie. I mean, which is not like we've seen that. I think we incentivize article publishing, so you get really weird and ridiculous, I don't know, conclusions that they're trying to get published. So it's not like it's not like lying is beyond just being like the wrong thing to do. There's not much else stopping people from just lying with statistics. But even stuff that isn't really and isn't inherently lying, like the p hacking. There's all kinds of other things that you can do with statistics to massage them in your way. You can, again, and be very wary of looking at not just being an idiot. Oh, well, Harvard said that chocolate cures cancer. And it's like, it's not really, is that, have some intuitive, you know, I don't know, inkling towards that being bullshit, maybe. I think it's not smart to just take models at face value, or even just statistics at some sense in face value, especially ones that don't make any sense. It's like, oh, they said that if we showed them an advertisement for porn, it boosts productivity by 5%. Okay, well, how are they measuring productivity? Like numbers of emails sent? Or like the one I used earlier was like they measured innovation using number of patents. But like, you know how many you could just file bogus patents and then that's more innovation. It's like, no, you didn't look at how are you measuring the quality of these patents? Even if there is a way to measure it, that's probably not a good, what about like compared to like one breakthrough of like, I don't know, antibacterial stuff? Like how can you compare that level of innovation to, these bogus patents, filing patents for different chair configurations? Like it's bullshit. It's a dumb way to measure it. Don't just take it like, oh, innovation's up 20%. That doesn't fucking mean anything. Don't like just run with that and, use that to, I don't know, be a racist or something. I don't understand what people use these dumb statistics for, but either way, that's my quote. Let's see. All right, number 41. This is a Terry Davis quote, who was the founder of Temple OS. Crazy story. I think I've talked about this in a couple other videos, but his quote I like from him, he had a lot of other quotes that aren't quite as savory, was that an idiot admires complexity, a genius admires simplicity. Especially in an age where things are so unbelievably more complicated than they were, like compared to our ancestors. I mean, not even just like, to me, like even just conceptualizing institutions and their like just their whole governance structure and like how things work is just so unbelievably complicated. And sure, it's like you could do. I mean, that's not the point. I think it's not the beauty isn't like, oh, look at this jungled mess of crap that I've made. It's like, no one. That's not the impressive part. Would be to be able to simplify it. I think it, especially with you can see this a lot with people like scientists who have made great discoveries and are like the best in their field, like Stephen Hawking or Einstein. They weren't the geniuses because they understood all those complexities, because they understood it and they could explain it to a 5-year-old. Like if you've read their books, they're very like, an idiot can understand that. And they should admire that, but instead they're like, the people that don't make any sense, you're just jabbling on about the stuff that doesn't even make sense to them, is somehow more impressive when it's the simple explanations, the simple abstractions. It's like even there's even a beauty to like, in the simplicity to like mathematical laws that we find. Like there's even a beauty to like Fibonacci numbers. It's so simple in concept, but then it becomes, it kind of represents such a complicated thing. But the fact that we've simplified it so much is the admirable part. It's not like looking at the most complicated abstraction of Fibonacci numbers or the Mandelbrot set that is impressive. It's like the fact that it is such a simple rule that leads to all this complexity later. So I think admiring the simplicity is should be what we're looking at. That should be the dimension that we value. Number 42. This is the last one of this Stoic wisdom, fight the power, whatever cynicism, stoicism stuff, or money, ancient quotes. Is man is born free and everywhere isn't changed. I think that's an Emerson quote. I'm not totally sure though. But But yeah, I think that it does represent the freest. And this is kind of the inner cynic in me too, that thinks that there's just something, again, I'll say spiritually significant about the human soul that we lose over time, or we abandon, or is beaten out of us in some sense. Or is, again, in this, I guess in reference to this quote, is kind of chained up, I guess for lack of a better conception. But there is something totally free and pure, and I suppose I'll say, put in quotes, perfect about like this human soul. Or in this case, he just said man, which I do agree with. But I do think it does, I don't know, can easily become corrupted. It's not something that remains pure throughout. So okay, that's it for that section. My next 8, if you're tired of that, you're welcome. My next 8 are I just call gym pillings. So as someone who's a adamant gym goer and someone who's very opinionated on, I guess, a healthy body, I suppose that can also be another word, fatphobic. But here's like my 8 gym pillings, and I might have a separate video on this later because I think I have a funny idea for just for a video on gym advice. But these are my 8 gym pillings. So number 43, the first hardest thing about just the gym in general is starting. The next hardest thing is to stop ego lifting. So I think this is especially true for men. I think women have probably much difficult time with this, but the first part is like a guy is scrawny. He's like, he gets into the gym, and he's finally like into a gym routine, and then that's not even the hardest part. The hardest part, I guess, is starting, but then the next hardest part is to stop ego lifting, because then it's all about like, I get PRs, and it's like, because eventually, if it's all about the ego and it's just about feeding the ego, going to the gym, you will not. It's not going to last forever. I mean, what the rabbit hole you go down is really you do roids, and then you're fighting other problems your whole life. So I guess defeating the ego is like, I guess, the second hardest thing about going to the gym. The first is just going and having any kind of whatever kind of structure you're going to stick to that actually works. So yeah. Number 43, this is kind of related to, I guess, defeating the ego, I suppose, in the gym, in the sense of, not making it all about PRs and numbers and stuff like that, or, if you're curling more than the roided out guy or whatever it is. And the question you have to ask yourself is, did you really just PR, or are you just more coked out than you were last time? And again, as someone who is guilty of this, it's not like I'm free from this. The reason I can ask this question and laugh at it is I was this guy. So did you really PR, or are you just more? Did you have more caffeine? Did you have an extra 3 scoops of pre-workout? It's like, you have to ask yourself, are you really stronger? Did you really improve? Or are you just like, are you just masking it with, again, unbridled intensity in some sense? And this is related to the next one, 45. I've come to believe now that deadlifting is literally just an exercise in intensity. It's not even really a great measure of strength of any kind. I mean, I think it's great for, again, spiking, kind of getting the adrenal gland, getting everything going, kind of showing that you have, I guess, kind of using the full brunt of your tank. But I don't think it's great for measuring leg strength or anything like that. I think it's more of it's an exercise in willpower and intensity than anything. So if you're having trouble with intensity, like if you're having trouble kind of activating everything, I think deadlifting could be a good avenue out. But I don't think it's necessarily a great, monicum of like, are my legs getting stronger? For that, I would stick to back squats, I guess, or front squats if you have the body type for that, because some people just aren't built for front squatting. Number 46, stop training calves. You're wasting your time. The number of people, they shouldn't even buy those calf raise machines. Nobody's ever gotten. This is related to the next one, 47. No one has ever gotten big legs by jogging or training legs once a week, or by doing isolating calves, like iso calves. Calves are 99% genetic. If you really want, just get surgery. If you really want big calves that fucking bad, you will never. If you have genetically small calves and you train your legs, get surgery. It's not going to work. That being said, if you train your legs once a week, or you think running is going to no one's ever gotten big legs by running. Like the sprinters that you see with those giant legs aren't jogging around like fucking losers. They're squatting, and they also have absurd genetics. If you're not training legs at least twice a week, and this is like, compound exercises. like bilateral movements, so lunges, Bulgarian split squats, reverse lunges, in addition to obviously like your big compound lifts. So squatting, really, I would deadlifting. You can kind of have two, but squatting, yeah, squat. And if your calves don't get big there, they're not. You have bad genetics. I'm sorry, go get surgery. Do not. If you isolate calves, you're a fucking idiot. You're wasting your time. So stop. And stop treating jogging as leg exercise. I mean, it's cardio exercise for your heart, not for your legs. You're gonna get smaller legs by running. And again, this is also the classic, like you just point at somebody, well, he has big legs and he's a runner. It's like, I understand that, but you're missing the point here. It's 99% genetics. So, but you're not going to get bigger legs by running. You have to, it's resistance training that does that. So I guess if you're going to run with a band or run upward called jumping, if you jumping, well, you can have bigger legs. That's resistance training, but running is not resistance training. It's cardio. Number 48. This is also a huge pet peeve of mine in the gym. You don't need gear of any kind unless you've medaled in a fucking powerlifting competition. Like, there are people I've seen who are squatting like less than 1 times their body weight with a fucking belt on, or they have a belt on doing bicep curls and like, oh, I got a bad back. You don't have a bad back. You got weak abs. You have terrible hamstrings. You have shitty posture. That's why your knees hurt when you squat. It's because you're weak. It's not because you need a belt. For God's sakes, you don't squat enough to need a fucking belt. I think a belt should be, unless you're squatting over twice your body weight, you shouldn't need a belt at all. No. Or if you're a power lifter who knows what the fuck they're doing and it doesn't get injured all the time. It's like, well, my knees got injured. I'm hurt. I got to wear a belt to bicep curl. You're a fucking nut. Okay. Get out of the gym. You don't need gear. You don't need wrist wraps. Like doing wrist wraps for a squat. I mean, you have to be squatting 3 times your body. You have to be a Olympian. You cannot be in there squatting 175 at 200 body weight with wrist wraps and a belt. You're weak. You're better to have a bad back. You don't have a bad back. You're weak. That's the thing. That's ultimately the thesis of this whole thing. So you don't need the gear. You don't need the belt, the whatever. You don't need any of that. You should have nothing unless you're squatting over twice your body weight. It's not bad back. It's a weak body is what it is. Number 49, don't shit where you eat. And this is in reference to trying to pick up girls in the gym. Get out of it. If you do not leave people alone. This actually is related to the next one. Mind your own fucking business. Number 50, mind your own business. Don't run around and give people advice. Don't go pick up girls. You don't shit where you eat. So leave them alone. This is not the time or the place. Focus on, supposed to be for you to get better and you to battle demons, you to fight things, you to improve, you to do something difficult that day. Because most days you don't do anything difficult. So do something hard, go to the gym, do something, don't use it don't go talk to, I know they're probably all dressing up weird. There's some dude there doing the form wrong and it pisses you off and so you got to go over there and explain, oh, here's how you do bicep curl. Leave them the fuck alone. Okay, they'll figure it out or they won't. That's not your job. You should be focused on yourself. Don't give people advice. People try to give me advice, and I'm like, I almost want to just be like, you're just fat. You're not even, you might weigh more than me, and you can quarter rep squat, or you can bench more than me or something like that, but you're fat. And I'm not taking advice from you. Someone told me to put on a belt, and I'm like, no, you shouldn't wear a belt. I can handle not wearing a belt because I don't have a bad back. I have abdominals that can handle squatting. I'm not a loser that needs that. So, anyway, it's got lots of more gym rants, but I'll leave most of those, out of it, I suppose. But yeah, those are my 8 quick little gym pillings. So I guess for my gym goers, but, I might make another video later on, I guess gym advice. The last 50 of the 100 that I'm going through. So we're halfway through and it's already way over the time that I've done for the last one because I can't shut up, are all my bucketisms. And these are just, that's perfect. Just things I've said. And some of these might be like quasi quotes of stuff that I've talked about before or just things that are probably more specific to me than necessarily like a person. So like I'm not, hopefully, at least, I don't think I did. I don't think I pulled a Nietzsche quote or anything here. I don't think I did any of that. I think these are mostly my own little opinions and things. Again, my little bucketisms. That's what I call them. Number 51, or the number, odds are whatever you're doing is of zero cosmic importance, and probably also zero societal, personal or spiritual value. So stop taking everything so serious. It's like there's people that just love like rules, and they love just everything, like everything being like this veneer of importance. It's like, that doesn't mean shit. None of this matters at all. I'm not saying that you shouldn't do anything, and I have another quote on there, but don't like stop crying over this stuff. It's like it has no importance whatsoever. And I realize that it's like importance is very subjective, but should this be important to you? Like, I mean, you lost the bidding war for these Yeezys. Why are you crying? Like, why? What is this really worthy of your human experience to be worked up and be all serious about this? This is sure. Maybe you're even getting paid for this, but is that enough of an excuse to, frankly, be a fool? I don't know that I have much sympathy for this. So stop taking everything so damn serious. Number 52, produce more than you consume. Production is a better modality than consumption. And don't aim for like 51-49 either. And this just, I guess, it comes back to that Benjamin Franklin quote, is refusing idle pleasures. I just don't think as much as we need to consume like information and, food and stuff like that, I think generally it's just so easy to be a glutton. So stop. I would just almost actively try to avoid consuming, and you'll consume enough by proxy anyway, just through friends and just like getting distracted and stuff like that. Those are all consumption based like vices. But it's so easy to overindulge. You're not actively trying to consume more. You don't need any more. You don't need I mean, again, with almost no exceptions, unless you're like anorexic, you certainly don't need more food. So like stop doing so much. I would actively try to avoid consuming in all ways, and focus on and produce something. I think that's much more human, like, especially if you're, I don't know, miserable in some cosmic sense. Maybe you need to produce something. Your body is aching and is demanding of you to do something human, right? That making something, I don't know, not just sitting there. We can make a dolphin or a monkey sit there and stare at Netflix. So just don't do that. I don't know. Producing is so much more of a valuable modality than consuming. Number 53. By the way, all these other ones, the ones I took from the last video game 50, I just literally shuffled them all around. So I'm going to get a different order than last time. And I hope that was already apparent through the first 50 or so. It is a completely different order. Number 53, money is for morons. I've talked at length about this. I just think the philosophical conception of money, I realize, is a very elegant thing. It's a ubiquitous store of value. But now it's like, it's everything. Everything's all money. It's like love is money. There's not anything that's like is independent of this financial value, and that's why it's just disgusting that it's just is become this sole measurement of everything. And it's like, and it's not often, and it's not even refreshing. It's like, I don't know, frustrating even with so few things that are not just reduced to money. And I think especially this idle pursuit of money. What are you going to do with the money? You're going to go on a boat, and you're going to buy a house, and you're going to talk to other people who own boats and houses. And you're going to talk about someone who has a bigger boat and a bigger house. And then it's like, what is the fucking point of all? What do you want what's your end game here? Just have more of what? Do you really need more? What do you need that? Why? Why do you want that? Isn't that it's so stupid? It's like, maybe these people are just stupid and they just need money all the time, but what are you going to do on the boat? Like, do you want that? It's not that great. After like a month or a year, you're going to be like, okay, well, now I want another boat. It's like, then you're back in the circle. You're on the loop. Like, don't you realize that it's not this, like, you're not going to achieve nirvana it's not you don't pay your way into heaven. Now, I guess if you do, I'd feel stupid, but then fine. I guess that's really, if you pay your way into heaven, I don't have the money for it, then that's too bad. But I think money's for morons. I talked too much at length about that. So I guess if you want more of my opinions, I've shared at that. Go click pretty much any other video I've made. I've been ranting about money. Number 54, whatever your problem is, buying something is probably not the answer. And I'd say I'd even upgrade that probably to like a probably plus, because it very likely is definitely not even close to your answer. Like, it's not like a trampoline isn't going to fix your marriage. You know what I mean? It's like that's not the answer, right? It's not like, oh, I'm not, somebody I knew wanted to get good at pool, like the pool. They had a pool table at their house. And they're like, no, I think I need a laser pointer to like line up the pool. I'm like, dude, you just need to, if you want to get better at pool, you just play. You don't need more stuff. Why are you buying an onion slicer? You don't even cook. That's like, well, buying it is not the fucking answer. So stop. Like, whatever the problem is, what is the problem? Define that. Money is probably nothing to do with it. It's probably a psychological problem with you. So again, buying the trampoline is not going to fix your marriage. The Lego set is not going to do anything. It's not. You don't need it. It's not the answer. So whatever the problem is, it doesn't matter what the problem is. Whatever it is, it's probably not the answer. Because unless you're hungry, then go buy a sandwich. But that is almost nobody's problem these days. Is not medical or food related. Number 55, the key to life is balance. Hard and fast rules die hard and they die fast. It just goes back to a lot of the, I don't know, just overindulge. I think there's a balance with everything. There's nuance with everything. It's not like it's, again, I make declarative statements, and declarative statements are what get headlines. That's what wins. It's like, this person is a Nazi. It's like, I understand it's like very easy to categorize and kind of just make, well, these people are Nazis. It's like just kind of making very, very generalized statements about things. And then it's easy. It's simple. I know we like that. We like hard and fast rules. We like math. That's why we love math. We love numbers. We love math because you can't argue with them. You can't argue with math. You say, well, whatever. I was going to pick a bad example there. You can't argue with math, but life is not math, unfortunately. Math is an abstraction that has given us a lot of good tools. We've lived, I'd say subjectively or objectively better lives because of math. But life is not a quantifiable thing. The value of life is not a quantifiable thing. Don't let an actuary tell you different. It's not. So the balance is, I don't know why I got on this tangent about this. Balance is the answer. Achieve balance, some kind of balance, whatever that might be. It's generally not all or nothing. Sometimes it is nothing. Sometimes balance is zero. I think the balance of like healthy porn consumption is zero. I don't think that's the balance is zero. But certainly with like, I don't know, you shouldn't just eat like, you only eat avocados and olive oil all day. Like that, there's balance with like, there's a lot of stuff that has balance, right? How much time should you spend, sleeping? Like not 24 hours and not 1 hour. It's like, okay, where's the balance? There's a balance part here somewhere. Maybe it's 50-50, maybe it's 80-20, maybe it's 8 hours, maybe it's, I don't know what the balance, it depends on what we're talking about here, but for the most part, there is balance. It's not these neat, hard and fast rules that we love. We love the neat rules that make perfect sense and allow us to like win arguments. Is that the point? Is just to win arguments? Or is it to, discover something? So yes. Let's see. Number 56, delete it. And of course, I'm talking about just social media apps and just your apps on your phone. If you can delete your phone, I do that. Just get off of it. Stop jerking off. Social media is not fun. I mean, I've never seen anybody looking at like smiling, laughing, clapping. Even like with memes, it's not even like people are just like, oh, that's funny. Yeah, it's funny. It's like, it's not even, there's not even like real like hearty laughter. It's like, it's numbing. You're just wishing your humanity away. It's disgusting. So just delete it. Get rid of it. The healthy amount of porn consumption is 0. So stop jerking off. 57, observe silence. Practice observing silence. The world exists, and society more or less is just screaming all the time. So I think observing silence is a very, very powerful, tool. And it's not even like it's not even like a means to some end. I think it's just, I guess it can be means to just being a more equanimous person and someone who's not all riled up all the time, but everything is just screaming. The TV is screaming. It's all just yelling all the time. Everyone's screaming. There's always noise. There's just like, I have to listen to a podcast and have CSI on, and I have to be getting a foot massage. It's like there's so much stuff going on all the time. Just nothing. We're going to observe silence for 10 minutes. Shut your eyes and shut up. My grandfather, apparently I was not alive for this because he's passed. He used to, on road trips, he'd say for the next 10 minutes, we'll observe silence. So then everyone would just be silent. There'd be no radio. Just be the kind of the, I guess somewhat pseudo silence of the, rumbling of the car or whatever. But observing silence so practice it is a very powerful. So I think it's very, I don't know, the good virtuous thing to do is to be at peace with silence. Because then you can actually appreciate these stimulation things. Like how much do you appreciate a foot massage if you're also listening to dubstep and CSI News and checking your email and arguing? It's like, How much shit? Relax. Okay, you can't focus on anything at once. If there's 4,000 things going on, it's just you're numbing your body in those weird ways. It's I don't know. It's perverted. So yeah, observe silence. Number 58. If walking is exercise to you, you should either be disabled or you're out of shape. So a 10-minute walk that's not exercise. That doesn't. You need like they just have a higher bar. Have a higher bar than that. Like walking, what? And I mean, I draw a line here between like walking and like hiking. Like if you're like going up a mountain for 2 miles, like that's different. But like, I walked around my house for 10 minutes. That's not extra. That's not. You shouldn't count that. That should be like that's not exercise. You got to do more than that. You should either, if that is exercise, you need to be disabled and you have like a genuine like physical ailment, or you're out of shape. And that shouldn't be. You shouldn't be sweating after walking. Unless you live in Texas or India or something like that. But anyway, either way, the point is that the whole point of that statement is just to have some kind of strenuous, serious exercise. Walking does not count. Running can count as exercise. Running, like actual running, your feet have to be off. You have to jump from foot to foot, not walk calmly. So it can be an auxiliary. It can be a nice recovery thing, but it's not. It shouldn't be. I don't consider it like true exercise in terms of like a box checked. If like I exercised today, it's like you didn't. You walked. It doesn't count. 59. Life is indeed a gift, but is not one that deserves infinite gratitude. Meaning, I realize that there is there's a healthy balance, I think, with being grateful for being alive and what you have and whatever life means to you and what it is, good or bad. There's a certain gratitude that we should have, and it's good. Being grateful is good, but like if you spend every day just like I guess you see this a lot more with like very religious people who are like every morning I'd spend 6 hours like thanking. It's like I think you're kind of just wasting the life that you're thanking him for anyway. It's like being that thankful, just go do like I think everyone kind of gets it. People can have 20 babies. It's not like it's that. Life is precious and it is a gift, but it's not something that we should spend all day like thank God I'm alive. Like do something with just quit thanking people and do something. It's it's like I spent all day thanking. It's like do it. This is surely not what the point of life was to just thank people all day. So don't do that. Of course, it's the opposite polar extreme of like, I don't know, not wanting to be alive or hating life or something like that. But it is, I don't know, I do find sometimes the other extreme of being overly grateful is almost more annoying than people that aren't quite grateful enough. Just because, I don't know, I'm a bit more cynical on the, I don't think it's like, I don't know. It's not. Life is precious, but not like rare per se. Pretty easy to like have babies. That's why there's like birth control. We're having less of them because it's too easy to have them, right? There's more condoms at the gas station than there are Band-Aids. So what does that tell you about? What does that tell you about the society or what we're doing in life? And anyway, yeah. Number 60. Be ashamed of yourself sometimes. It's good for you and it's better for others. I think shame. I've talked about shame a lot. This is probably an older episode, but. Shame shouldn't be. I think the complete lack of shame is a very dangerous position to be in for many, many, many reasons. But shame should play a role, especially in a society that has people and there's a sociological things and people interacting. Shame should play a role, and I think sometimes you should be like, "Wow, I'm ashamed of myself. This is stupid." Because I think it does drive certain behaviors that I think are good. If there's no shame, then it's like a complete free for all, which I think is not say there's not like freedom at all kind is bad, but I think there is certain things that should be shamed. Like for example, like I don't know, I think if if you're running around watching porn all day, jerking off in public, shame. We should be shaming shame that person. Maybe it's not even illegal or like. I don't know, they do something funky with the tax laws or their debate. Like, we should shame these people. We should shame them to not do that. Otherwise, it's not a complete lack of shame, just is degradation of any kind of societal values. Not that they're even good. Like, most societal values suck anyway. But the ones that are good, at least should be enforced through shame and not just like the law. Because the law is like always a decade behind. It's always terrible. It's always like super vague. It's like, would a reasonable person think this is shameful? It's like, no, we should just walk by them and be like, yuck, put your dick away. Kind of, I mean, I don't know if it is illegal to jerk off in public, but I mean, in general, there are other things that should be shameful, right? People just tend to have less shame now than they did before. Everyone used to wear suits and be all proper and talk all nice. Now, like, you don't have to make any sense. You can just fucking babble on, and you can't even be like, dude, what the fuck are you saying? Can you speak? And now it's like insulting or something. I don't even know. We should have more shame. Shame should be more prevalent. People should be ashamed of themselves sometimes. It's healthy to have a bit of shame. I think we should embrace that. Number 61, art, love, and life are all valuable because they are finite. I think people want to live forever are fucking idiots. There's an eternity of heaven becomes hell. It's not. I don't know why there's this weird fixation with living forever, living to be 300. How many more boat rides are you going to take? Really? Do you really need, why do you want this? Why? What do you want to live forever for? It's not, Michael Jackson's music is good or is valuable because it didn't, if he made 48,000 albums and had 8 billion songs, how valuable would it really be, really? And it's not like your wife isn't the most valuable person to you because they're, I don't know, there's 40 gajillion. It's because it's a finite thing. She'll die, she's only around some of the time. It's a finite, I guess things being limited give them inherent value, right? If there's an infinite number of, any economist knows this, but there's finite things are more is what gives them value. And that also applies to art, to love, however you define that, and to life itself. It's valuable because it ends. It's over. And so you have choices that you have to make, and you get a certain number of time to exercise those choices, and you only have a certain amount of autonomy in those choices. And if you had unlimited time and choices and anything, then it wouldn't fucking matter. It'd be pointless. It'd be worth nothing. So the finiteness gives it value. There's probably a lot more to say on that too. Number 62, make the wrong decisions. And I kind of mean this a little, I don't know, this is just one of my weird little wordplay things. There are decisions I think you can make in life that, again, are kind of like most people would be like, why would you make that decision? It's like, I guess maybe on paper sometimes they're wrong decisions, but there are times where it's like, you have to go against the grain for things that you are, principles you defend or things you want to be or your intuition was telling you or something like that. And I think there's a certain right-wrongness to it where it's like you have to make kind of the correct wrong choices. You don't want to make the wrong right choices per se. Again, it's like, oh, well, it was legal for me to do this, but I had to run over the child. It's like, and I think there's a lot of times where it's that you should make the right wrong choices, like the wrong choice that might seem wrong or is not what society would expect of you, but it's the one that feels right to you and is right to you in that moment. Again, it's kind of a nuanced thing, and it isn't really, I guess I couldn't give you a great example off the top of my head, but regardless, my quote is that you should make the right wrong decisions for you. Make your right wrong decisions. Right, of course, being not a legal term, but a term that means something that feels intuitively correct for you. Let's see, number 63, excellence is its own purpose. The process is the purpose, or excellence is its own point. The process is the purpose. So I think there's it's like, I don't know. This was also kind of a note from that Nature and Art of Workmanship book. But there is a certain, it's not, does anyone care really if there's like the perfect violin or something like that? I don't know, the violin might be a dumb example, but does anyone care if we make the perfect violin, or is a Costco violin, is it good enough for most people? And I think a lot of people, it's easy to be like, well, I don't care about the violin, so who the fuck does? It doesn't matter. We should all just make Costco violins because who gives a shit? And people are like, well, then stop giving these people money for their, fancy, perfect quote unquote violins. Just get the Walmart version. I think it kind of is again, degradative towards humanity if we don't preserve and defend excellence as its own point. The point isn't, I know you don't care about violins in the same way that I don't care about fancy bowls or something, but there still needs to be people that pursue perfect excellence in violin making and bowl making and whatever dumb shit that obviously you don't care about it. I don't care about it. I don't care about pianos or violins. I don't give a shit. But there still needs to be people that make it their life's work to make the fucking perfect piano or the perfect violin. Those people need to exist, because if you lose that, we're going to lose everything. So we can't just have Costco violins. We need excellence kind of is the point there. The point isn't that it makes more economic sense or like, oh, well, now everyone can have a violin. It's like, no, the point, excellence is the point, and perfection is the point there. That's why we need that. I know you don't care, but collective humanity should care. It's like at that point, it's like, why even write? We have books that are good enough. Good enough books. Don't write another one. It's like I think writing, like, it is the point to produce works of excellence and not just like shit things. Those are ultimately the ones that no one gives a fuck about. There's no value in 80 gajillion Costco violins, but there's value in this like craftsman work perfect violin to somebody, not to you probably, but there's people that really appreciate that level of craftsmanship or workmanship. So I think there is a lot of, I don't know, there's a lot we lose if we just say, well, I don't care about piano making, so then just, have Costco make it. I don't think we should do that. I think we're losing a lot more than we're gaining, especially even if it's only about things that you don't care about. Maybe you do care about pianos, but there's other stuff you're like, well, I don't care. It's like, no, you don't care about audiophiles is like fixation with old synthesizers or something like that, but somebody needs to care. Somebody needs to care about these like FLAC files, whatever. I don't give a shit, but somebody needs to. Somebody needs to. It doesn't have to be you, but somebody needs to. So you need to defend like excellence in its own point. There's a difference between excellence like of workmanship and then excellence in just like, I don't know, like rinsing people their money. I'm not saying there needs to be like, the ultimate Wall Street better or something like that, because they're not making anything. They're just, saboteuring markets or whatever. But I think in terms of people that make stuff, make quality craftsmanship, that are craftsmen or worksmen or whoever you want to call them, depending on your definition, we need those people who are like masters of their craft, that actually make stuff, not financiers and these people that don't do anything. Excel skills or whatever. But anyway, let's see. Number 64. Don't like it because it's the best. Love it because it's yours. This is kind of similar to the everything is being limited. It's like I love my car, but by any metric that you would give it, it is a piece of shit. And even I refer to it as a piece of shit, but I love the car. It's mine. That's why I like it. I don't like it because it's like I don't have to, like my wife because she's the hottest or, whatever, or if you're gay or your boyfriend or whatever, it doesn't matter. It's not because it's because it's yours. It's like, it's not your property, but your thing. It's your, it's your song that you made. It's like the shitty art thing that you made when you were a kid. Your mom, you're a shitty artist. Okay. But your mom keeps it and values it because it's yours. And it's not about it being good or the best, or even like, it's probably bad actually. I have a bad car, but I like it because it's mine. And that's what makes it special. So it applies to people and things and belongings and all kinds of stuff. And I don't know, just don't like it because it's the best. Love it because it's yours. So that's my little wisdom there. Let's see. Number 65. Stop answering questions and start asking them. Generally, I think there are more unsolved mysteries than solved ones in terms of, I guess, if you're good at asking questions. So that's another way to look at it, is people are bad at asking questions. They just think everything has an answer. So especially if you're someone that tends to be very like, well, this is simple. Harvard told me that this study is like, we should eat more chocolate. I think it's easy to be less skeptical because people are so sure. Everyone's like, being assured and being confident in your even wrong answer is generally a better look socially and publicly than being like, well, I don't know. Than asking questions. But I think asking questions is a better mode. So while it might be mainstream to watch Netflix and accept things, whatever that anyone tells you, I think it's more, more human-like and more good for humans if you're not watching Netflix and you're asking questions. You're producing and you're asking. I think asking questions should have more question marks and periods. I'd be curious to write like an essay in school that had more question marks and periods, and you're like, well, F, because you didn't say anything. You just kept asking questions. I think that's part of it, that people need to ask. At most of the problems is asking the right question. Is what underlying question are we missing here? I think Einstein said that if he was tasked with a problem, he would spend most of the time figuring out how to ask the right question. Like 80% of it or 90% of it or something like that. And then once he had the question, the solution would be the right question, I suppose. The solution would be simple. It was maybe not for the mysteries of the universe, but for a lot of problems, but asking the right questions. Number 66, The hardest part of anything isn't starting, it's finishing or deciding when to be finished. The quote I like around this is that art is never finished, it's merely abandoned. And obviously starting stuff is hard, especially people making new habits or, I don't know, changes or whatever. Starts are hard, but a lot of times it's the hardest part is when it's time to finish. When does it end? When's it over? Letting go. I mean, you see people retirees that can't retire, people that can't die. I think being born is not that hard. I'm sure childbirth is hard, but I think it's harder to die with grace. And that's probably a little bit too literal in terms of being finished. Maybe this is more applicable to I think it is applicable to life and death, but it's very applicable to work of some kind. If you're doing some kind of work, starting is difficult, but getting the name is hard. But then once you're there, it's when are you done? Things a lot of times don't have an end. Maybe that's why we like numbers so much, because it just ends once I've made this amount of money and then it's over. It's I think that shouldn't really be the point, but whatever. Yeah. Number 67. This is my thing. My shtick is that I think like an artist, I do like an engineer, and I act like a businessman. I think it's a nice little trifecta there. I don't necessarily agree with all the time. I think a lot of times I do maybe work like an artist, or I, muse like a engineer in some kind, of some sense. I tend to think about things in engineering terms, but generally, I do think it's good to just marry those disciplines. I think it's foolhardy to think of yourself as a pure businessman or like a pure artist, and artists that ignore engineering and be like, well, it's too hard science for me. It's you're an idiot. You realize that the most beautiful of anything is marriages of all this stuff. So why would I would ignore any of it. I suppose if you're going to ignore business, marry art and engineering, business can go fuck itself. But generally, I think it's good to marry these concepts in these fields instead of looking to choose which one you are. Are you a businessman? Are you an artist? Are you an engineer? I hate it when it's I have to say that I'm an engineer, or I have to, that implies that I'm somehow I hate art or something, or I don't do art, or I can't be artistic, or I can't have any kind of, we need to hire an artist in. It's okay, well, that doesn't, people, that's the whole beauty of the human brain, is we're able to marry a lot of this stuff. So I don't think it's good to box everyone off in their own little fucking silos and not do anything. But anyway, let's see. Number 68. Just a classic little, this is probably a nothing burger, but nothing, monkey man. That's just my funny way of just remembering that we're just stupid little monkeys who can talk and can abstract things. So it's good to just err on the side of knowing nothing and being a monkey man. And it's fine. I think it's okay. There's some beauty. There's a lot of, I don't know, a lot of joy in just being a dumb monkey man. It's fine. But I think arrogance will ultimately be the unraveling of humanity, and won't be that, we're too humble. we're too kind. I don't think that'll be it. I think it'll be arrogance. Let's see. Number 69, good number. You got to believe in something, but whatever it is you believe in, it's not real. I think I said this in one of my other episodes, but yeah, you have to believe in something. You can't, believing in nothing is not a way that you can live a good life of any, however you even want to define good. Even if a good life is just dying with grace and something, or immediately. I don't think that you have to believe in something. It could be God. It could be, I guess it could be money. I suppose I wish it wasn't. But whatever that is, it's not real. If you believe in money, that's not real. Even God, that's not real either. So a lot of it isn't, you have to believe in something, but whatever it isn't real. So again, you have to kind of live with this cognitive dissonance. And I even hate that word. You have to live with this delusion. It's delusion. It's what it is. And it's a requirement, I think, to even have any kind of life, is to embrace some amount of delusional thinking. There's obviously bounds where this becomes a clinical problem. But for the most part, I think people want to be well, I can't be delusional, but then I have to believe in something in nothing. You can't believe in nothing. That's not a belief. You can believe in some cosmic grandeur, or the, I don't know, I guess the laws of quantum mechanics, if you really want to be a stickler about it, but then you have to also live with their uncertainties. That's fine. Same if you believe in any kind of religious entity, believe in them, and live with their uncertainties. That's fine. But that also requires a certain amount of delusional thinking, whether it be quantum mechanics or classical physics or Buddha. I don't care who it is that you believe in or what it is. You have to believe in something, otherwise you can't really live. You're just kind of waiting to die, I suppose. Um, but whatever it is, it's not real. You can worship the money of the god of money, but he is Cassius or whatever you want to call it. He's not real either. He's fake. And you're going to feel, I don't know, feel extra bad on your boat, I guess, eating lobster, whatever it is that you're going to be doing with all your money and all your whatever, because won't be what gives you that true spiritual fulfillment. Number 70, books and other media should be read and accessed multiple times. I really think I'm a believer, and I think things should be like the guy who has like 40,000 books on his wall. I think he's an idiot. I think you get more wisdom out of reading one book 10 times than like reading 10 different books and trying to, it's like, especially if it's a good book or a good piece of media, like a good movie even. Not that I like movies that much, but it's not, I think quality is more important. We should kind of rep the quality. I think even really good works, you can't get anything out of. It takes a couple times to even really appreciate the full gravity of what they've written, because it is so. I guess everything now is so shallow and simple. Like watching Marvel movies, you can probably watch on double speed once, and you'll get the whole gist, because there's not really much. There's not really much else to it. But I think especially the classics, these need to be read multiple times. You need to really, good books need to be read multiple times. If it's a good piece of media, good movie, even you could watch it multiple times. Give you the deeper. You get a different view of it every time. If it is good, I guess otherwise it's just a Marvel movie and it's not worth watching once even. And I wouldn't watch that then. Anyway, but good stuff should be accessed and read multiple times. Number 71, just because you can't do everything doesn't mean you can do anything, but certainly doesn't mean you should do nothing. So I think it's hard. This is kind of a nod towards my inner perfectionist at times, where it's like I realize that there's only a certain amount of time I have on the planet. So I can't do everything. And certainly I feel like I can do anything in some very vague sense, but I certainly can't. But I think the dumbest thing to do would be to do nothing. So you have to do something. It doesn't, whatever you do may not be the best thing, or it probably won't be. And it's also not totally unlimited of what you can do. But you certainly can't do nothing. So I don't know, don't do nothing. You have to do something. You just can't do everything, and you might feel like you can do anything or everything at once, but you can't. So you have to kind of, I don't know, use your tokens, play, I don't know, it's a finite amount. So I'll move on. Let's see. Number 72, this is another dumb fucking opinion of mine. Therapy is just emotional prostitution. You can go watch the episode. I don't know what episode I talked about that on, but it is kind of funny, because it's a one-sided relationship that you exchange money in exchange for some kind of gratification. Now, in this case, it's not sexual, but is that much different than like a work? It's like, I don't think it's prostitution for your emotions. It's one-way emotional satisfaction for money. It's a one-way sexual satisfaction for money is prostitution. So if you just substitute in emotion, that's what therapy is. Sure, you can be like, well, emotion, it's more than that. It's a connection. It's like, no, these people sometimes pay to be here, and they're paid to, they would love to see you back, actually. They don't want to see your problem solved. Like you having problems, you inventing problems, and your inability to kind of just get over and forget things that went on, or kind of just embrace and move past bad things is what is putting money in their pockets. They have no incentive to keep you around. So they want that. They want to continue this relationship. I'd say they probably even more so than the prostitute, probably, because they don't have to touch you. They can just sit there and go, yeah, and then just ask you, alley-oop questions. Anyway, that's just I have a rant. I'm not a big believer in a lot of, cognitive behavioral therapy, especially in the way it's used now. BetterHelp or whatever. Give me a break. It's a fraudulent company. Let's see, number 73. There's a world everywhere you look, but are you able to see it? And I think that there's another quote, I think, from like infinite and finite games. It's like, it's not what you were looking at that is limited. It's like what you see. Because it's not like, what is it? And so I think it's even an older quote than that. But it isn't like I said, in theory, I would like to believe that you can lock me in a room with an apple and I'd have enough. There's enough stimulation there for me to not, go mad. I can. It's not what I'm You need to go to Rome and like experience culture. There's plenty of what it is around you now. You're not appreciating it to the extent that it needs to be. So it's not again what you're looking at that's limited. It's you. You're the problem. It's your perspective that isn't awarding it its full gravity. It's like I guess you didn't. If you're looking at the best book ever that's written in Chinese, but you don't fucking get it, it's like this is stupid. I don't get it. Of course you don't get it because you don't even comprehend it because it's you don't get the language. You don't read the language. And if it's something as obvious as a book, you'd be like, well, I can't read the language. But especially with other cultures and stuff like that, we just go, oh wow, look at the mountain or the house. Right? A lot of times I don't appreciate the gravity of what it means far beyond just like, I don't know, something dumb. And you don't need to. People are generally, I'm not just very, very wary of traveling in general. I think it's mostly a waste of time. It's, I guess, just a way to shuffle money around the economy, but whatever. Number 74, the issue with free speech isn't with the speaker, it's with the listeners. So it's not that I have a problem with people that spout off dumb opinions like me. I think the issue mostly lies in the people listening. Like, I don't think there's anything wrong with describing, and again, this is where the argument would come in, and maybe I'll entertain this more in a different episode, because I'm not pressed for time here. But like even someone describing how to make like a pipe bomb or something like that. I'm not saying that there's any like we shouldn't ban any of this. I think generally the problem with these issues of free speech, even with legality, are that the people listening are fucking idiots. You have like children listening to how to build a pipe bomb, whereas maybe it's like, I don't know, for a science class. I'm trying to justify the pipe bomb example in particular, but generally there shouldn't be a limit to anything you can say. I think the problem is that people are fucking stupid, and then they hear something and then they just run off with it, and they're a terrorist now. And it's like, well, we can point it back to this pipe bomb video that made this person a fucking nut. And it's like, well, I don't think the problem isn't with the video itself. The problem is the person listening was deranged and was a loser. So we're going to go back and ban everything that person ever looked at. It's like, I don't think. But then it's like it's very, very stifling what a person can say. And then it's very, very difficult for like a judge to be like determine like, okay, well, what, I guess we can definitively say that this pipe bomb video made this guy a fucking lunatic. But then like when other, examples where it's more of a gray area, it's generally the person listening is a fucking idiot. That's not the problem. Yes, it's probably not in good taste that this person, said the N-word or something like that. But the kid, they shouldn't ban the video just because some 10-year-old watched it and was running around saying the N-word at a school. That's not. The problem isn't necessarily with the video itself, the guy saying the N-word. It's not a dangerous thing. It's that the kid's a fucking idiot. So the problem that I have with free speech in general is that the listeners are the problem. The people saying stuff generally, I don't have any problem. I think you should be able to say I think we kind of need free speech for like a functioning democracy of any kind, even functioning society. You need people to challenge authority, to say things, even to say things, deranged conspiracies. And it's like, it's not even that like the COVID fake, like any kind of deranged conspiracy theory or whatever. The problem wasn't necessarily that people were saying stuff that was wrong, because people say wrong stuff all the time. It was factually incorrect or it was conspiracy, because some of them aren't a conspiracy. Some of them is literally just like they're right. It's just they don't like that what they say. But it's the people listening don't have the nuance and the ability to go, okay, this could be wrong, this could be right. I don't know. It's like they just accept everything, and that's the problem. The people listening are fucking idiots. So then it's like you can't say anything, even entertaining conspiracies. It's like, well, what if Bush did 9/11? It's like, well, you can't even say that, because then it's like, well, someone's going to believe that. It's like, well, what if? But you could have, and then it's like at that point you're blocking the truth. Then, but you don't know. Just because you don't know everything. Even the state, when a state doesn't know everything, the governments don't know everything. Even there's a lot of stuff that they don't know, so they can't just immediately assess something of value of truth or say like, well, this is dangerous because it's. Is it dangerous because it's true? Maybe it is dangerous because it's true. And at that point, they're just censoring truth. So why would you want that? So you don't. Given that we don't know immediately anything that could be true or could be false, I think the responsibility then kind of lies on the listener. Is this person, how big of a fucking idiot is this person? And can they be trusted to, absorb information of any kind? I think that's really where my issue with free speech lies. And maybe I'll talk about that more later. But I do have a whole beef on free speech. So let's see here. 75. Don't pick a favorite star. There's so many stars out there. You don't need to pick a favorite. You don't have to have a favorite everything. I think there's a lot of I don't know. People are very quick to be like, "Oh, it's my favorite food, favorite this, and favorite red, favorite." I think there's a lot of it's like I just don't want to. It was almost want to even pick a favorite color. Like there's colors. I do have a favorite color, unfortunately, but I think a lot of times you're preferential towards that one color, and you're just limited in your belief. And so I always say the quote I like is you just don't pick a favorite star because there's so many out there. Why would you? How can you pick one's your favorite? Because then every time you're like comparing it. Well, is it better than my favorite one already? It's like no, just enjoy the stars. They're beautiful. Enjoy all of them. You don't have to have a favorite and then compare it to your favorite. You don't always have to have favorites. Sometimes you can just like them all. I think that's I don't think that's a better way to live than to have like, have a favorite and then always play this game of comparison of like, oh, is it better than my favorite? Well, and maybe, I don't know. I think it's just kind of just, I don't know, good advice to not have sometimes not have favorites. Let's see here. Number 76. Oh, this is one that got shuffled around. This is probably the first one I put in my Buckettisms. And I'll talk about this more next time, I think, too, where I'll write a blog on it or something. The most powerful human force, or the most powerful force of the human mind is its ability to delude itself. Maybe cleverly, but it's still, kind of drive itself mad. I think delusion is like, and I'm going to try to keep this very, very brief, but I do think delusions are like, I'm coming around on how powerful like self-delusions are and like beliefs about not only like yourself or the world or anything, but like, again, things that I would categorize as delusional thoughts just have like such immense influence on what happens. And I use the word delusion there on purpose because it almost, like if you use a word like cognitive dissonance, it just sounds like it's a medicated thing, or it's like, oh, it's like a illness. He's cognitive dissonant. It's like, no, it's not. I think we just say the word delusion because it is delusional. Maybe not clinically, but it's you're crazy. It's a wrong. It's like factually, it's irrational. But ultimately, there's so much power that like these irrational beliefs have. Like, I mean, think about how many wars have been fought over, a God that is, and again, not even, it's somewhat irrational. Like, kind of, it's irrationality. And I think that's part of what the humanness appeal of it is. And it's not even a bad thing per se, but it just speaks to the gravity of what irrationality, I don't know, the power of delusional thinking. And I'll talk about that more later. But anyway, it's the most powerful human ability. Related to that, number 77, to be human is to be hypocritical. So a core tenet of humanity lies in its hypocrisy. And this is kind of very related to delusional thinking. It's just that's part of what even makes us human at all is the fact that we contradict ourselves constantly and with such confidence. And I'm not absolving myself of this. In fact, I'm stating it loudly. I am a hypocrite. There's probably so many times in these videos I've said something and then like 2 episodes later I'll say the exact opposite. And it's often not, again, that night and day. I'd say there's certainly some air of like, I don't know, skepticism I try to put forth in the beginning to not have to, not so blatantly contradict myself. Like, oh, my favorite color is red, now it's blue. But a lot of times I know that I'd be silly if I said I didn't like, I've never 180'd on stuff, or there isn't stuff that I don't constantly am hypocritical of myself, even with like life advice and stuff like that. Now that being said, I don't wear a fucking bell at the gym. So there are things I'm not hypocritical of, and I can confidently say that. But on the more philosophical grounds, and with regard to other, I've eaten junk food before, as much as I avoid it. So I'm certainly no saint there or anything like that. But I think part of being a human at all is just it lies in our hypocrisy, which is just funny. I don't know. I think it's just that's where comedy can come in and just kind of laugh at it. We're hypocritical monkeys that love deluding ourselves and stuff. So yeah. Let's see. Number 78. Anyone too willing to do something is probably gonna do a bad job. So anyone too excited to like, I don't know, do your plumbing, I'd be very skeptical of. You kind of want somebody who's a little reluctant. And I think that's just a matter of, they know how much. You're thinking about someone who's very, very willing to do a job is like, probably can do it fast and can make money on it and is like whatever. Whereas someone that is more reluctant is probably like, they know how much work is involved. It's a tough thing. I guess it depends on how difficult the job is per se, but like, I wouldn't want someone who's like ecstatic about like, making me bowls or something like that unless they really, really liked it. I want someone who's more like, I kind of like to pay them because I know they make good shit. And they're like, all right, I'll put the hours in and I'll give you, you're going to get it. It's going to be good. Versus someone who's like, oh my God, yes. And they just give you, Costco shit or something like that. So I think there is a certain reluctance that really good worksmen have in doing their work. So anyone who's super willing to do something is probably going to do a shit job. So I wouldn't, I don't know. because I would try to pay them as little as possible. I suppose if that's what the thing is. Number 79, good philosophy makes you stronger. I do think this is the case. I've fallen victim to philosophies that might be more empirically correct based off of what shitty information I have and what shitty computational data my stupid little brain is doing. But I think good philosophies are ones that empower you, that make you more willing to take on problems, that I guess make you stronger in the face of adversity, however you define that or whatever. Good philosophy should make you stronger, more capable, more independent, whatever. However you define strength and whatever you define as a true philosophy, good philosophy should make you stronger. So I'd be wary of philosophies that make you weaker, right? That, I guess philosophy of like, do whatever the boss man says. It's like, does that strengthen you or does that weaken you, right? I don't know. I'd be wary of that philosophy because it doesn't seem to make you a stronger person, right? So I don't know. I think generally good philosophies make you stronger. Number 80. Geez, we're still a ways away from the end here. You're a coin flip away, so stop taking everything so serious. And I kind of mean that as a nod towards an earlier one, with reverence toward the god of fortune, Fortuna. But yeah, you're a coin flip away from not really disaster. I'm not saying that you should run around thinking you're going to get brain cancer tomorrow or anything like that. But I wouldn't be so like, I wouldn't white knuckle your whole life. Like you shouldn't be running around concerned with health and dying. It's like just die. If you're so worried and so interested in like how you're going to die and if you're going to get cancer now or later, or it's like you're going to get a car crash. Like, why are you so fucking concerned? Like, just if it's going to kill, it'll kill you. You're going to die eventually. What are you waiting for? You need to get on that boat that bad before you die. Like, is it really that important to you that you need to be white knuckling it every fucking day, holding on for dear? It's like, relax. If it bucks you, it bucks you, and you die, you die. Don't like you're wasting it. So concerned with this anxiety of what? Like if the world wants to kill you and give you brain cancer, you're not going to live. You're not going to beat it. A thunder could just literally strike you and die. It's like is that worth being concerned about it all the time and like buying a thunderproof shield? It's like you're an idiot. The point isn't to like protect against more stuff. The point is just to relieve the anxiety and not run around with these again mostly just hysterical delusions about what is going to kill you. Those are the wrong kind of weaponized delusions. I think I don't know. I'll speak more about that probably different episode. But anyway, number 81, cut your own fucking grass. If you have a lawn and you are too lazy and like, what are you doing that's so much? The reason I have a whole episode, and this is one of my earlier episodes, but cut your own fucking grass. It's a menial activity, gets you outside. You feel good after cutting grass. I don't even care, man or woman, child, whatever. Paying someone to cut your grass should be illegal. I mean, it's like it's unless you're like literally disabled. But I think like what else are you doing? Like, why is your time so valuable that you can't go outside and cut your own grass? I mean, seriously, what is it that you're doing? You're watching TV, you're sitting on a Zoom call. Like, no, I think there's anyone that would pay somebody to cut their grass, I would immediately be skeptical of what is it they think is so much more valuable than cutting their own grass, right? Why? What else are you doing? You're making deals, really, you're making deals and like go outside. You're out of shape, cut your own fucking grass. Number 82, a bad plan is better than no plan. My amendment is that like a good plan is just a bad plan in disguise. And generally, it's not saying it's not. I like planning. Don't get me wrong. I do like planning. I'm just not. I think you're stupid if you think the plan's it's going to go according to plan. The plans are often just like rough skeletons of what you'd like to accomplish, and then you're gonna have to roll with punches anyway. It's like it's funny to me that people like love this like ridiculous over planning and like it's just. I don't know. It's emblematic of our like obsession with control. We love having superb control over all. We love everything being under our control, and I mean that all the switches are at our fingertips. It's like, dude, I wish that thing would just short circuit, and then you're left like scrambling with nothing. It's like you can't control everything. Like I said, you're not going to control life and death, and every moment of happiness. You're going to make sure you're going to be happy on this day. It's like, dude, you might wake up sick. I mean, I don't know. It's like quit trying to control everything. Relax. Not to do nothing, but like you kind of have to ride the wave a little bit. You don't know what life will give you. You have to wait. You can't just assume that you're going to get have all these, control panels at your fingers. That's why people like money so much, is because it's like this, gives this illusion that they can control everything, or that they have like control over something, or they can bribe somebody, or if they get in enough trouble, they can bribe the government. I don't even know what people are trying to protect themselves from at this point, but you don't have ultimate control. No matter how much money or influence you have, there's a lot of things out of your control. So don't obsess over that. It's not worth it. It's a bad way to live too, in my personal opinion. I think it makes you weaker, actually. Speaking of philosophy, it makes you weaker, being obsessed with control. So that's not to say avoid control, but I would say be wary that no matter what, a lot of things will be out of your control. So even stuff like health, I don't know. It's as unfortunate as to say that, but anyway, I'll move on. Number 83, there are no rules. This is just like, there are laws. Yes, I understand that. But there are no, like, God did not come down and there's no rules. We made it all up. It's all made up. There's not, like, I wouldn't give too much like sanctity and religiosity to, like, especially these like weird kind of societal constructs about things. Like, we made all that shit up. It's not, yes, you should still wear clothes and like be normal and not like, there's a line here, but don't give so much, don't have this obsession with rules. Like, there are no real rules. We made them up. So don't be obsessed with rules, I guess. But there are no rules is really my rule. There's no rules. So I don't know. I guess there's also a way to take that in like an entrepreneurial way, where it's like, well, the industry's always gone this way. It's like, well, fuck that. Maybe it won't. So I don't know. I don't know. Go against the grain a little bit. Generally, people are not. Let's see. Number 84. No one has your answer. It's a your way. It's like, as much as people give you advice on, like, how to do this, or what to do at the gym, or whatever, how to make a gajillion dollars. It's like, anyone who's telling you like the way of, like, or they might be sharing their way of doing it, but it's like, you have to find your way. Whatever you have done has not been done before. Whatever you want to do will not have been done before. It's not like you can follow exactly what, Ben Franklin did to have Ben Franklin's life. I think it's got to be your way. You can't just do what Hemingway did, or whatever. Anyone that you vilify or want, or, deify, or however you look at people, I think copying them or anti-copying them, or doing the opposite of what they're doing, it's like, yeah, it's going to be your thing. Like, your life is going to be your way. It's not going to be someone else's story. Like, oh, I wish I was, Jack from the Titanic or whatever. It's like, that's not going to happen to you. You're going to have your own thing. It's going to be totally different than anyone else's. Don't quit obsessing over other people's shit and thinking that would happen to you. It's like, that's not their thing. Live your life, not theirs. Like, it's going to happen your way. It'll be your own thing. Like, if you're going to make $1 billion, you won't do it starting Amazon. Maybe Scamazon. Start that one. Maybe that'll be your way. It'll be Scamazon instead of Amazon. Anyway, but it'll be your way, not their way. Number 85. Fuck you and your birthday. No one cares about your fucking birthday. My God. Oh my God, Jesse's turning 32. No one gives a half birthdays, quarter birthdays, birthday weeks, birthday months. Nobody gives a fuck. I mean, no one cares about, people don't care about your just life as a whole. Like, your mom might, or pretend to, or your wife or whatever, but especially no one cares about your birthday. Generally, it's an excuse for something to happen. Something needs to go on. People's lives are boring. So the birthday is just an excuse for something. Like, your birthday is meaningless. No one gives a fuck about your birthday. And I'm sorry. I know that there's importance. Like, no, people just want an excuse to do something. It's an excuse. It's a Super Bowl. It's an excuse to do something. What are you doing for Super Bowl? What are you doing for your birthday? It's dumb. It's not like there's some, like, everyone's got to be nice to me. It's like, no one cares about your fucking birthday. So fuck you and your birthday. So I don't know. Just don't make it about you. Make it about being together on something. Like, the point isn't the Super Bowl. The point is just to be around other people and do something. Super Bowl doesn't matter. We can call it anything. I could be watching, that is not the point. The point is not the birthday. The point is being together with other people. So don't make it about you. Make it about being around other people. That should be the point of the fucking birthday in the beginning with. But everyone just wants it to be like, oh, it's me. It's my week. Everyone buy me. It's like, fuck you and your birthday. Let's see. Number 86. Getting towards the end here. Number 86, you're wrong, but it's not worth it for me to prove it to you. So I've met this a lot because I make, I don't know, pretty ridiculous, grandiose claims about stuff that I can't Like I say money is stupid. And that would have a lot more punch if I was a billionaire and had a bunch of money, had a boat, and I was like, guys, I've made the money and I can now confidently say that life wasn't about making money. But see, it's like, but I don't have any money and I still say money is for idiots. And I don't have to I don't have to make $1 to then say that money is for, like, I could prove you wrong, but it's not worth it for me to go out and do that. It's not worth it for me to sell my soul, do everything it takes to make $1 billion to then finally say, oh, I guess it wasn't about the $1 million after all. It's like, I just say, and it's not worth it for me to prove you wrong. So it's like and sometimes I have to I can't run around and collect evidence all day to prove people wrong about stuff. You're wrong. I don't care. It's not worth it for me. I could say that, I don't know, I'd beat you up or something like that. They're like, no, you wouldn't. It's like, look, you really want me to beat the shit out of you? Then it'll just cause so many more problems now. Like I have to do this. I'm not doing it. So it's not worth it for me to prove you wrong. I don't care. So it's like, especially with claims, especially about like money or like getting a job at Google or something like that. Do I have to get a job then to prove you that it's stupid? Do I have to do all that to then do it? Do I have to have been there to like say that it's dumb, or can I just say it's dumb and not have to? It's not worth it for me to do that. And maybe sure you don't have to respect my opinion. I don't care. It's not worth it for me to prove you wrong. So I'm not going to. So there's a lot of cases where I have to do that. I have to say, it's just not worth it for me to prove you wrong. I don't care. I don't care that much about your opinion, which is good. It's the way it should be. Number 87, the Pareto principle. This is just the 80-20 rule. I love this. This is just an elegant abstraction. I've talked about this at length. It's kind of everywhere. I just love the 80-20 rule. I think it's a great, I don't know. I've abused talking about that in all my other videos. So I will not harp on that any longer. Next. Number 88, do good for no reason. So do something good and then forget about it. Or I put actually here, shut the fuck up about it, for fuck's sake. I think it's always our tendency to just like, oh, guess what I did today? I volunteered. It's like, thanks. Now it kind of means less just because you were running around telling people that you're like, I don't do something and then forget about it. It's like, I think that's why I hate it when people are like, what's the last thing you did for me? It's like, I don't keep track of all the stuff that I've done for people to make sure I have leverage over them when I ask them to do something for me. It's like, what kind of shitty way to live is that? Keeping track of how much, well, no, I bought you gas that one time and then you bought me a candy bar. It's like, quit keeping tabs on this crap. It's like, just do it something nice and then don't ever worry about it, or like make it about like, well, it's not worth my time. Like I could have held the door for that lady, but then like that'd have been 8 minutes. It's like, or like, look at me, I held the door open. It's like, you're a douche. You should forget that you even did that. You should just been a nice thing you did for no reason. You don't need a financial reason at any point, or leveraging your, like, fuck all the, value you're going to extract from this good deed. Do it because it's good, the right fucking thing to do, and then forget about it. Don't tell everybody you did it. Do it and then shut up about it. It should be silent. You should hold the door for the lady and then it should leave your mind immediately. You shouldn't remember a thing. You shouldn't have to tell anybody. You should forget that you did these nice things. And it shouldn't have to be this like thing where you're keeping track of the nice things you've done to make sure people know you're a nice person. Like you're obvious. At that point, I would be skeptical. I say you're probably a dick if you spend all day categorizing all the nice stuff you've done for people, or remembering it, for God's sake, or worst of all, mentioning it to people. Do a nice thing, do a good deed, and then forget about it or shut up about it. Even if you shut up, don't say anything. Who cares? Don't make it about now you're milking it for social points or money or whatever, Well, I got you that one time. So, okay, well, great. Now I wish I'm never going to let you buy me anything ever again, because you're just going to hold it over my head and fucking stab me with it next time. So what happens is doing it because it's good, forget about it. I don't remember doing that. Good. I did a good thing for somebody and I forgot about it. That's the way it should be. I don't remember this good stuff I do all the time. Or it means I don't do anything good, I guess. But either way, let's see. 89, independence over dependence. Generally, I think the nice question to ask, and I think this is way back from one of Luke Smith's ramblings. I guess he's kind of certainly on his own thing. Generally, you're met with a life decision. Does this make you more dependent or independent? And I think there's a lot more value in independence and a lot more beauty in the individual humanity and the independence of things versus depending on systems, depending on things, depending on income, depending on other people. So generally, I try to err on the side of being more independent than being more dependent on stuff. So that's a question I tend to ask myself when I'm left with some kind of decision to make. Is this make me more or less dependent on what? What are the factors involved, and who am I more dependent on or independent from? Which I think is a better way to live. Is more independent than dependent. Hard work, number 90. Hard work pays off. It just doesn't pay off equally. So take what it gives you and fuck what it doesn't. So it's not saying that you should work hard and everything will work out. I think that's stupid. It might not. You never know. You don't really have anything else to do, so you might as well kind of quote unquote work hard, whatever the fuck that means. But don't act like it's going to be equal. Like, so somebody could be, somebody could just do steroids at the gym and make more progress than you'll make in 10 years or ever. Actually, you make your entire lifetime. They can just do it in a quarter of the time. And it's not like they worked harder than you or anything. They, I don't know, could have or could not. It doesn't pay off equally. It's not like because I made twice as much money as you, I worked twice as hard. Or it's like, or even just like some convoluted equation on how much you started with versus how much. It's like it doesn't pay off equally. It doesn't matter. People spent lifetimes as a janitor who made nothing. It's not about that. Even whether it's money or anything else, it doesn't pay off equally. The other thing is it's not to view as like this giant conspiracy against you. It's like everything goes in the exact opposite direction. So I think that's just as stupid as like thinking that hard work pays off equally, is to think that it like pays off inversely. I think it doesn't mean to do nothing. I think it's just, again, I say take what it gives you, but fuck what it doesn't. So that's the way I would look at it. So hard work does pay off. It's just not equally. Take what it gives you, fuck what it doesn't. So anyway, number 91, you live and die in routines. So like I said, I think this is part of my life killings one, but the routines you have they keep you alive, they kill you, they do everything. Like you live and you die in your routine behavior. Like your habits become you and they become what kill you. And whether they're good or bad, it's just relative, I guess, to what is good and what is bad. But ultimately what your life is what the constituent events. I think it's too easy now to look at stories or books or something and assume it's like this one event that like it's like, no, it's the entire, you see one day, you see like one perfect game by this pitcher, or you see one touchdown pass, but it's decades of the routines that led to that. And that was just a moment that is notable that we kind of tell a story about because it's fun. It's not what the story is though. It's really it's the whole routine of everything. It's everything that built up to that was just so much more. It's decades of mundane bull crap. But it's not every second of the, my other beef with movies is just like, most of it's unglorious. It's like going to sleep on the time, waking up, going to just like, there's no glory. It's not a fun Marvel movie action-packed scene. If that was in a movie, nobody would watch it. Like this is boring as shit. This guy's just getting up and just cleaning his house and fucking going to the gym. Like, what is this? It's the dumbest fucking movie ever. But it's like, that's more of what really happened anyway. That's what led to this whole, that's really what builds up the person and the situation and their character. That's what builds up everything. So it's not like it's these one moments. It's every fucking day. It's a habitual thing that builds people. So you live and you die in your routines. Whether they are good or bad or neutral or viceful or whatever. So generally I think it's just, I don't know, it's easy to think that there's these defining moments. It's like, no, it's not defining. It's a routine. It's every day. Every day is your defining moment. Your defining moment is, Tuesday, October 8th or something. It's like, it's a day that is a forgettable day. It's a day you've forgotten. That's your most notable day. Is a day that you don't even remember what you did, but it was what your routine just did. You did on autopilot. That was a memorable day. That was the day. That was your defining moment. There's not some moment when you're on top of a cliff or something like that. It's silly to like, I don't know, infantilize all these things and make them about the whole world. It's like, that wasn't the world. Number 92, I've mentioned this earlier. Arrogance is the true existential threat to humanity. I think that will be ultimately whatever it is that will kill us or does whatever. And it might be 500 years and I'm long dead and hard drives don't work anymore or whatever. The arrogance will be what did it. I think that will be what ends up killing humans is our hubris. I don't know what that could be. Nuclear, that could be alien. I don't know. I think arrogance is the true existential threat to humanity, and that could even be an AI, weaponized AI thing. It's like, I don't know. It'd be all on the basis of a shitty human doing that. It won't be like, oh no, no, it's an arrogant fucking human that did it, not some space robot. It was a human. It was an arrogant human. Is what killed us. So that's the existential threat. The true existential threat to humanity is our arrogance. 93. Focus and self-discipline are subject to the laws of talent and skill acquisition like anything else. And the quote I like around this that I've kind of made up is that you're doing fine, but you can always do better. So it's easy to like, I don't know, it's easy to think that, well, I'm an unfocused person. I'm not a very disciplined person, or like I'm lazy or something like that. And I have the same beliefs about myself. I do think I'm lazy and whatever, but I also understand that it's not this just like innate thing, this innate character. It's the same thing else. I might be more predisposed to being good or bad at it, but you can still develop it. It's like no one is born like excellent at basketball. I'm like kind of saying that as a joke. People obviously have huge advantages in the sport of basketball, but ultimately, like you still get good. You can still get better at basketball, even if you are 4 feet tall and you have one arm. You could still improve at basketball. It's not like you're at an enormous disadvantage and you'll never be good. But you can still get better at it. So but I think people look at focus or discipline or, I don't know, self-control as like this, like, well, it's just this like spiritual thing that I'm just out of my, it's like, no, it's not out of your realm. It's the same as being good at basketball. Like you just have, maybe you're just like that 4 foot tall midget or whatever that has one arm. Maybe you're like probably really bad at basketball or really bad at discipline out of the womb, but you can still develop skills and getting better at it. You can still get better at basketball. Like, yeah, you're not going to maybe not be that good at the end of it all, but you can still certainly, you don't have to just accept that you can't do anything ever and you're just this perpetually lazy person that just, I mean, what a defeatist, what a terrible attitude. It's just like, oh, no matter what, I'll always suck. And it's like, okay, I don't want to help you anymore. You're a loser. So you should develop these things. You treat them like, even if it is maybe less malleable than I think, maybe it is more, genetic, even like something like IQ or something like that. As dumb as I think a metric that is, I think still viewing it as like this like innate thing just leads you to do what? Do nothing? Because like, well, I'm stupid. I can't do anything. It's like, great. Now you are stupid actually, because you believe that. And now you're going to sit there and do nothing. It's like, at least pretend like you could be better at it and work at it. Like, again, you're probably never going to go to the NBA, but you can still improve at basketball. So view it like getting better at basketball, or darts or something. I don't know, whatever it is I would just view it more of like an acquisitional skill, something you can develop versus like, oh, I can't do it because I'm bad. It's like, yeah, your genetics don't help you, but that doesn't mean you have to suck forever. You can still get kind of better at it. Number 94. I should probably sleep. Number 94, inevitability isn't an excuse for doing shit things. It's like, well, it's going to happen anyway. Someone's going to do it, I think I hate that as like a cop-out excuse for something like that. Especially for something, this is mostly like maybe in the realm of like people doing shitty things with technology, like, I don't know, someone making a gambling app company. The argument would be like, well, someone's going to make an app for gambling. It's like, that is not an excuse to do it though. It's like, well, it's the same as saying like, well, someone's going to molest this girl, so I have to. It's like, no, you don't. You just don't do it. You don't have to do it. Like, what does it mean it's inevitable and like it's going to happen? What do you mean? That's like, I mean, yeah, it's inevitable that the sun is going to envelop the earth and we're all going to die. But why would you want to accelerate that? Don't do it. I would just still like let it happen if it's going to happen, but avoid it. You don't have to like, just because somebody's going to do it doesn't mean you have to be the one to like, well, might as well be me. It's like, what a pussy attitude to have, I think, towards just anything. It's just viewing as, well, it's not someone else would have done the bad thing, so I did it because I'm not that bad of it. It's like, no, you're the bad person now, actually. You thinking that, well, I got to protect other people. It's like, no, you don't. You're the bad person because you did it. It wasn't inevitable. You made it inevitable by doing it. If someone's like, I think it's a bad excuse. It's a circular argument. I don't think it's a good excuse to do shit things. You can do shit things for evil purposes. You can just be like, well, my life philosophy is I'm here to kill as many people as possible. And I'm like, oh, at least that guy's like an obvious villain or something like that. But it's like, don't hide behind like, well, someone's going to do it. I think the inevitability is a shitty excuse to hide behind, especially when doing shitty things to people. So don't, molestation isn't an inevitability for people. Like, they can also just not be molested. You can just leave them alone. Like that. That's also very possible. That happens all the time. It's a bad example, but it gets my point across. Let's see, number 95. Unreasonability is a sign of authenticity. This is just my opinion, of course. I think people that have more, again, there's obviously nuance in terms of like people who are unreasonable because they're stupid versus unreasonable because they thought deeply and like realize that they refuse, on some, philosophical grounds or something like that. But I do think that there is a lot more authenticity in being, and people that are, I don't know, sometimes borderline unreasonable or annoying. And it's sometimes not. There's obviously a lot of nuance with this, but I don't know. I certainly am very unreasonable about stuff. But I do think but I think it's because I've thought and considered, and and I go, you know what? Nope. Fuck that. Nope. Not going to do it. 0. And it's like, well, you're being unreasonable. It's like, no, I'm doing me. I honestly really think this is wrong. So I'm not going to do it. I've thought about it enough. It's not me. I don't care. I'm not going to do it. I don't know. I probably have more. I think I'd hold a rant on that in another video. So won't make this any longer. Number 96, social acceptance is for cowards. Just do your thing. I agree with that. I think if you were just gonna, well, so everyone else is buying a house. It's like, I don't care. You don't have to do that. Fuck what everyone else is doing. Everyone else is idiots. That's what I'm saying. Comparing yourself to the average person or like conforming out of fear is all just cowardly behavior. If I will die anything but a coward. I'll die poor. I'll die homeless. I'll die starving. I won't die a coward. I'll die on my own terms, doing my thing. I'm not going to conform and die and be a coward. I'm not going to be a coward. So I wouldn't do it. I guess on a side note, I love using, I guess, just more obscure insults. So I find like, especially as words are being bastardized and no one finds like idiot that insulting anymore. Coward actually has a good punch to it. I call people cowards a lot, mostly as a joke. Like, no, I'm not like legitimately angry running around calling people cowards, but I'll call my friends cowards because it's funny because they're like, well, I'm insulted actually. I have courage. I'm very courageous. Are you calling me a coward? No. I just think it's funny. But yeah, social acceptance is for cowards. So you can die anything, but don't die without your dignity. Die with your dignity. Let's see. Number 97. Ask the obvious, but maybe not the stupid question. Like, I think there's a difference between stupid questions and just obvious questions. Like the stupid questions would be like, I don't know, how many apples are in this bag? It's like 3. That's a stupid question. Or the obvious questions is like, this has nothing to do with apples, but like, why do you want all this money? What are you gonna do with all this money? And they're like, well, it's obvious. And it's like, well, okay, well, what? What do you want to buy with the money? $10 million. What are you buying with this money? Well, I want to buy a boat. And I want to buy a car. Okay, for what? And then what? Then what are you gonna do? Just drive around your boat and you're like, what is it? Why do you want this so bad? Why are you willing to sacrifice human lives for your? Money's the easiest one that I always say is like an obvious question of like, why does somebody even want this? Or like, what's the point? And people tend to think it's like, well, it's a stupid question because they can buy boats and stuff. It's like, you don't need, you need very little. I think you don't need that much money to honestly be pretty damn, like, you can eat and you can get a gym membership and you can pay for a housing and food and, like, I don't know, books or something that, like, what else, what do you need all this money for? That much money? Like, why do you want that? And it's like, that seems like such a stupid question, but I don't think it's a stupid question. I think it's an obvious question. So not just around money, obviously, there's a lot of other things that are, that obvious questions need to be asked, but I do think it's always worth asking the obvious, but maybe not the stupid question, which are two different things. There are obvious questions and stupid questions. Anyway, number 98, strive for having stupid problems. I guess if you want a higher quality of life, I'd say quality of life is defined by the stupidity of your day-to-day problems. So I just, I see this, I hang around people that have money and they're like, oh, I don't know which I get, which brunch place should we go? It's like, my one's always, it's like, what are you talking? These are the dumbest problems I've ever heard in my life. I think your quality of life, if the problem is like, when's my next meal coming from? Or like, am I going to get shot today? Like, these are very low quality of life questions because these are serious life and death problems. But like, how do I want my egg cooked in the morning is not, I would argue that is a problem that's so unbelievably superfluous to that your quality of life is fine. Like, if you're arguing about like, I don't know, the problem today was that, I don't know, somebody used the R word and you didn't like that. It's like, well, maybe because you're a retard. No, it's like, that's not really, how stupid is that problem really? Like, in the grand scheme of things, is that how big of a real problem is that? And it's like, I would argue that's very, very inconsequential compared to like, again, sleeping or eating, or again, very kind of like people are dying. People are getting shot all the time. Like, it's a murder. There's all kinds of stuff going on that are way more less stupid than, somebody saying something you didn't like on Twitter. It's like, just delete Twitter then. That's the easy, just throw your phone out. Just get rid of it. Then you don't have to worry about it at all. You don't have to see it ever. So I think, the quality of life is defined by the stupidity of your problem. So if you're, I don't know, having very, very stupid problems, you should be your life is fine. Okay. Your life is fine. Quit caring so much. Number 99, I care about truth, but not at the expense of life. Meaning that it's like, it's I don't know. You can think about this in some ways, like in a religious sense in some way. It's like, I realize that it'd be one thing to like go into every church and like try to like, I don't know, convert people to like this empirical science-based thing instead of like, but you realize that it does so much more, like it breathes so much more life into their existences versus like them like being a more quote unquote truthful, skeptical life. Because I think, as important as truth might be in some sense, it's not more important than life itself. And while like the truth of religions and things could be called into question, I don't think we should call into question like life itself. And I think that's sometimes what you can do if you're overly skeptical of like the truth of things. You're so focused that you forget that the point, you're not really defending life anymore. You're throwing life away at the expense of truth. So I care about truth, but not at the expense of life. I value life over truth, and it's okay. Again, I think you have to live with some amount of this of delusion to live at all. I think you have to accept these like kind of inherent non-truths, like these falsities about the universe and the world, in order to even live at all. I think that if you're only after truth, it's going to be miserable. You can be truth as like some kind of other, in some vague sense where you're not speaking directly about the, like, I don't know, empirical, scientifically provable truths. But I do think at some point there needs to be a acceptance of falsehoods for life, or it's just, I don't know, it's devoid of purpose at that point. Anyway, last but not least, number 100 is my saying, I don't give a fuck about nothing. That is always the one I'll end on. Yeah, that's my catchphrase. I don't give a fuck about nothing. Thanks for watching. Sorry for the long video, but actually I'm not sorry because I don't give a fuck about nothing. Peace out.